Chapter 835. I wonder who won. It's best if both of them die together so that we don't have to deal with them. If it was a battle of that level just now, I'm afraid that the four of us together wouldn't be a match for them. Qi Lu, Wang Jie, and Duke Ju said one after another. After Duke Ju finished speaking, he still stared at Qin Yi under the stone with great interest. Woman, I'll give you one more chance. Lin Yu might already be dead. Is there any point in waiting for him? He won't die. Qin Yi spat out a large mouthful of blood. She walked out of the Wangxian sect with Lin Yu and watched Lin Yu break free from the reset of 100,000 years. Step by step, he walked to where he was today. How could she give up on him so easily? I was Lin Yu's woman when I was alive, and I'm also Lin Yu's woman when I die. Qin Yi's bright eyes flashed with a deep and firm gaze. This gaze made Duke Ju completely angry. He was jealous of Lin Yu. Then, you will die with him. Duke Ju raised his foot, energy swirling around the soles of his feet, and he kicked down. Lin Yuan, Lin Xiu, Bai Jiu, and Yama roared, but Wang Jie alone was enough to suppress all of them. Even though the four of them had burned their cultivation at this moment, wanting to break through their limits to escape and save Qin Yi. But they couldn't do it. Wang Jie was an expert at the peak of the myriad spirit realm and was the strongest sequence in this sequence battle. Whether it was his cultivation or the heaven-grade myriad spirit seal between his eyebrows, he crushed them too much. Big brother Lin Yu. I can die, but you have to live. Qin Yi closed her eyes. Duke Ju's foot landed, but all of a sudden, while his foot was still in midair, a figure had already appeared beside him. Time seemed to stop, and everyone saw that Duke Ju's face was covered by his palm. The speed at which this person appeared was so terrifying that when everyone came back to their senses, they could already feel the power of the palm erupting on Duke Ju's face. 10 times 5 elements Dao Seal Palm. 20 times 5 elements Dao Seal Palm. 30 times 5 elements Dao Seal Palm. 40 times 5 elements Dao Seal Palm. 50-fold 5 elements Dao Seal Palm. It was so fast and so powerful that it made Duke Ju's terrified face and body split apart. His neck was directly broken, and under the 5 elements Dao Seal Palm, his head smashed into the city walls one after another. Blood splattered everywhere. Everyone subconsciously held their breaths. Duke Ju was dead, and his head was separated from his body. They were stunned in place. Only the young man blasted away the rubble and rose up with Qin Yi in his arms. I'm here. Lin Yu spoke slowly as he activated his time and space value, healing Qin Yi's injuries immediately. Are you coming down? Even though she had recovered from her injuries, Qin Yi still shook her head. Her eyes were filled with tears, and although there were still traces of blood on her perfect face, she still looked exceptionally moving. Qin Yi buried her face in Lin Yu's chest, feeling the warmth and smell of Lin Yu. After confirming that she wasn't dreaming, she jumped down. There were still 3 strong enemies in front of him. She knew that now was not the time to be affectionate with Lin Yu. At this very moment, Qi Lu, Wang Jie, and Fallen were already breathing much faster. What was going on just now? He killed Duke Ju in one move? Fallen, you're right, we're not his match. I didn't expect this brat to win. The 3 of them already had no confidence in Lin Yu. At this moment, when they wanted to retreat, Lin Yu waved his hand and Death God Transit erupted, cutting off the pressure on them. Lin Yu's camp regained their freedom. So strong. Wang Jie narrowed his eyes. He had already used all his strength to suppress 4 myriad spirit realm experts and a peak 4 symbols realm expert. But Lin Yu actually broke his pressure with a casual move. This person was not someone he could deal with. Not only did he win the battle just now, but he also didn't seem to use up much stamina. How is this possible? Fallen, it seems that you're right. Qi Lu's words had already made the other 2 understand that this brat was not a match for him even if the 3 of them worked together. Lin Yu's gaze landed on the 3 of them, no longer planning to let them leave. But at this moment, outside 10 Direction World, the Divine Priest of Light received a voice transmission. Just as the voice transmission arrived, the Divine Priest of Light stood up. The sequence battle is over. After saying that, everyone was shocked again. At present, there were still 18 hours to the time set at the beginning. But why did the light suddenly end the sequence battle? Before the 4 patriarchs of the 4 families could ask, 10 Direction World began to shake. Immediately, everyone saw that the sealed 10 Direction World opened again. Inside 10 Direction World, Lin Yu originally planned to make a move, but suddenly saw 10 Direction World open. When the 10 Orientations World opened, the light of teleportation appeared on everyone who was still alive. That was close, otherwise I might have died in this brat's hands. Hee, you scared me. Brat, come to Heaven Domain and find us if you have the guts. Lin Yu, next time you won't be so lucky. Qi Lu, Wang Jie, and Fallen were teleported out of 10 Direction World at the same time. As for Lin Xiu and the others who had survived, they did not have the courage to fight with these people again, and naturally could not say anything. Only Lin Yu shrugged. It was a pity that he did not take 3 storage rings. Given a little more time, he did not mind killing all of them. But Lin Yu also felt that something was wrong. 10 Direction World should have opened earlier. And although there were restrictions left behind by the Ancient Almighty in 10 Direction World, no one could control it. But the person who could open 10 Direction World was the 6-winged Divine King. Lin Yu didn't need to think to know who was behind this strange behavior. Forget it. Lin Yu's 5 fingers formed a claw and locked Nangong Tian in the storage ring. He heaved a sigh, knowing that after this trip, he would face a greater danger. After all, in 10 Direction World, the 6-winged Divine King could only enter with his divine sense, and he was already unable to resist. If they were outside, facing the 6-winged Divine King's invincible true body, he would not be able to resist. Thinking of this, when Qin Yi and the others were teleported out, Lin Yu activated the spacetime value and delayed his teleportation by 10 breath. This scene was noticed by Bai Xiaoli. She was also shocked. Could it be that you really have the God King's token in your body that can actually ignore the restrictions here? But Lin Yu did not know what the God King's token was. His trump card was the system. Lin Yu activated Azura and left a not heaven mark here. Back then, Lin Yu relied on this move to go to Sky Desert Universe and was blocked by Ling Xiao and pushed back to the Abyss of Despair. But he used this move to return to Sky Desert. It could be said that this was a type of teleportation array, and it was Lin Yu's exclusive teleportation array. With one of the 8 Great Void Azura's moves, it reversed the spacetime of 2 places and allowed them to switch back and forth. This was the only place in the 3 realms and 5 regions that Lin Yu knew that could restrain the 6-winged Divine King. So he left a mark here. When necessary, Lin Yu could return here. It was considered a life-saving trump card. After doing this, the teleportation of 10 Direction World arrived again. The system could delay it, but it could not really stop the teleportation here. Very soon, Lin Yu also appeared in front of everyone. We won. Qin Yi immediately stepped forward and stood beside Lin Yu. And below, Venerable Xia and Venerable Wuya, who returned after leaving for 2 hours, also saw the 2 of them. You're back. Lin Yu, Lin Xiu, it's good that you're not dead. Venerable Wuya already felt that the rankings were not too important. These 2 people were the future hope of the Boundless Sea region. They couldn't die just because of a sequence battle. As for Venerable Xia, although her face was a little flushed at the moment, she still exhaled deeply. Seeing Queen Yama and Qin Yi coming over, she nodded with relief. I didn't expect these 2 brats to still be alive. Why do I feel that Lin Yuan's aura has strengthened a lot? Everyone was talking about it. The 4 major families, the Upper Sea region, and the Middle Sea region were all waiting for their people to appear. The light divine priest's face was gloomy to the extreme. Because of what happened inside, Qi Lu and the other two had already explained it to him. Divine Priest, we didn't get first place. Qi Lu and the other two knelt on the ground. The faces of the light Divine Priest and the wind and thunder gods were extremely gloomy. The dark Divine Priest on the side greeted them with a smile. It's okay, just work hard next time. He glanced in the direction of Lin Yu from the corner of his eyes. With that lord here, how could you guys win? But no one could see his thoughts, but the faces of Qi Lu and the other two were grateful to the dark Divine Priest. With the dark Divine Priest speaking for them, at least their punishment could be reduced. In the Middle Sea region, the venerables of the vast sea region and 9 Nether Sea region only saw Lin Xiu for a long time, and the 10 square world had begun to close. It meant that Lin Yu, who came out last, was the only living person inside. And those who didn't come out, the restrictions of the 10 square world couldn't find their vitality and naturally wouldn't come out again. Wait, why are you alone? Where is Wu Chang? 9 Nether Venerable asked. Lin Xiu said coldly. Dead. Hearing this, 9 Nether Venerable's old face twitched and was about to get angry, but after perceiving the myriad soul realm on Lin Xiu's body, his face changed again. Well, I said that you are more reliable than Wu Chang. Lin Xiu, congratulations on your breakthrough. Our 9 Nether Sea region will rely on you in the future. After 9 Nether Venerable's face changed, the Venerable of the vast sea region on the side was already dead. 3 lives kill. Sure Rulai is dead. 9 Nether, what did your disciple do inside? Why did our 3 lives kill and Sure Rulai die? After Vast Expanse Venerable reprimanded him, 9 Nether Venerable knew that Lin Xiu was now in the myriad soul realm, then he had officially entered the ranks of the top sequence. How could such a good seedling be bullied by others? Old dog Vast Expanse, what does your disciple's death have to do with our Lin Xiu? Not only the Vast Expanse Sea region, but also the venerables of the Upper Sea region. Lei Dong, Shiman Wuxue and 9 Phoenix didn't come out? Our Emperor Fallen Sea region too, Gui Xiao, Big Luo, Jiang Yan, it's impossible that they all died inside. They looked at the Lower Sea region. Chaos Demon Venerable naturally understood that if Lei Dong and the others couldn't survive, then his domineering Blade Guyi naturally wouldn't have any hope. And Lin Yu and domineering Blade Guyi already had a grudge. Now that Lin Yu came out, domineering Blade Guyi must have died inside. Chaos Demon Venerable snorted coldly, waved his sleeves, and left. Chapter 836. As for Xian Ming and Venerable Di Luo, they went to the Lower Sea region camp. Lin Yu, what happened inside? Did the two of you encounter a fortuitous encounter? You actually broke through to the 10,000 spirit realm. Yama 2, you're just one step away from the 10,000 spirit realm. Good, when I return, I'll find Xian demons and even earth demons to help you condense the 10,000 spirit seal. Venerable Zixiao was overjoyed. But soon 2 murderous auras descended. Xian Ming, Di Luo, what's the meaning of this? Venerable Wuya stood in front of Lin Yu, blocking Xian Ming and Venerable Di Luo. Lin Yu, Lin Yuan, Qini Yama, what happened inside? Give me an explanation. Why did the sequence of our Upper Sea region all die inside? Venerable Xian Ming and Venerable Di Luo asked in a questioning tone. And their spearheads were naturally directed at the few who came out. They also observed that Lin Yuan, Qini, and Yama all had a great improvement in their cultivation, except for Lin Yu and the others whose cultivation couldn't be seen. This was even more unusual. They had never heard of any fortuitous encounter in the 10-direction world. Where did the increase in cultivation come from? Their deaths. Being threatened, Lin Yu slowly opened his mouth. Venerable Wuya was afraid that Lin Yu would be wronged, so he reminded him, you don't have to care about them. Life and death in the sequence battle is up to the heavens. There's no need to explain to them. Hearing this, Lin Yu also smiled. That's exactly what I wanted. If they died, then they died. Why do I need to explain to you? Boom. Presumptuous. Xian Ming and Venerable Di Luo's old faces shook. Venerable Wuya also felt a chill down his spine. Kid, you just don't answer. Why did you anger these two old guys? Just as the two venerables were about to get angry, Venerable Zixia also stood beside Venerable Wuya. Sister Zixia, are you here to help me? If it wasn't for your better performance just now, I wouldn't have bothered with you. Reverend Zixia said softly. When Reverend Wuya heard this, he couldn't help but smile confidently. Thinking back, this was indeed the most successful performance he'd had in his 10,000 years of cultivation. Tian'er, Huang'er, where are you? On the Realm Sea's side, swords were drawn and bows drawn, while on the primitive continent's side, aside from Baijiu, all of the people from the 5 regions had died inside. However, their movements were naturally not as intense as those of the 4 great clans. At the very least, Baijiu was left in the 5 regions. But the 4 great clans, not a single one was left. Clan leader Nangong spat out a mouthful of blood. The clan leaders of Donghuang, Shiming, and Beimua were also dumbfounded. Their echelon, their hope for the future, none of them had come out. This also meant that these top prodigies from the various large clans were the future heirs that they had spent countless resources to nurture. In the sequence battle, all of them died in the 10 Directions world. And because of the deaths of these people, those who survived became the target of public criticism. The 4 great clans immediately pointed their spears at the heavenly region. As for the 3 people from the heavenly region, they also couldn't say anything. They couldn't say that the people from the primitive continent had died in the hands of Linyu, and even they had almost died in the hands of Linyu. Moreover, Duke Ju had been killed by Linyu. If it weren't for the timely arrival of the teleportation array, the people from the heavenly region probably wouldn't have been spared. The 3 people from the heavenly region couldn't say such words. They were top prodigies and had their own dignity. Divine Priest, the echelon of our 4 great clans are all dead. The heavenly region has to give us an explanation for this matter. The clan leader of the Donghuang family was the first to speak. As for the other clans, they also stood out at this time and pointed their spears at the heavenly region. They didn't think that Lin Yu and the others from the lower sea region had the ability to kill the echelon of the 4 great clans. The only ones who had the ability to kill were the experts of the heavenly region. Divine Priest, say something. The Divine Priest of Light's gaze fell on Lin Yu. I'm afraid we still have to ask them about this matter. After saying that, everyone looked at Lin Yu and the others. After all, the Divine Priest of Light already knew what had happened inside. Even the 3 people from the heavenly region who survived had told him about the battle between the mysterious expert and Lin Yu. It was just that the Divine Priest of Light couldn't guess who the mysterious expert was. But now, the people from the heavenly region had eaten the dead cat. How could they just let it go? However, even if the Divine Priest of Light knew what had happened inside, but the others didn't know. Even when the Divine Priest of Light deliberately led them to suspect Lin Yu. The clan leader of the Donghuang family's face was already extremely ugly. Divine Priest of Light, do you take us for fools? How could he believe that an echelon from the lower sea region had the ability to kill the echelon of the 4 great clans? Especially Lin Yu and the others. Even if they had broken through the 10,000 soul realm, their cultivation was too weak. It was probably extremely difficult to deal with one of the 4 great clans, not to mention killing the 4 great clans. Divine Priest of Light, although I'm old, I won't believe everything you say. The clan leader of the Nangong family was the first to vomit blood. At this moment, his body was trembling as he questioned the Divine Priest of Light. The Divine Priest of Light's face also began to turn pale. Lin Yu, tell us, what happened inside? Thunder came. Facing the questioning of the Divine Priest of Light, even Venerable Wuya and Venerable Zixia became nervous. What did this kid do inside? Why did Venerable Xianming and Venerable Di Luo find trouble with him? Even the divine priest of light spoke personally. Venerable Wuya smiled apologetically and cupped his fist. Divine priest of light, is there any misunderstanding? Our Lin Yu is still a child. That's right. How can our echelon's battle strength be compared to yours? If you want to ask, are we inferior to the echelon of the heavenly region? Venerable Zixia also chimed in. Presumptuous. I'm asking Lin Yu. The divine priest of light naturally wasn't willing to confront these old foxes. After all, he also knew that these old foxes were experts on the sky god list. Moreover, they were old and cunning. It was impossible to get anything out of them. Lin Yu, the divine priest of light, is asking you a question. Why aren't you answering? He's young but he's got guts. Divine priest, I think this kid isn't giving you any face. Venerable Xianming and Venerable Di Luo also began to add insult to injury. Seeing Lin Yu's hesitation, the crowd also became suspicious. Could it really have something to do with this kid? That's impossible. This kid doesn't seem to have such powerful combat strength. Could he have used some kind of trick? That's even more impossible. The four great clans are geniuses. How could they fall for a trick? The crowd started to speculate. The clan leaders of the four great clans also fixed their gazes on Lin Yu. The divine priest of light's aura spread out and landed on Lin Yu with a sense of oppression. I don't know. Don't scare me. Lin Yu took a step back. Fear was written all over his face. The crowd immediately understood what was going on. He didn't answer earlier because he was scared stiff. Now, when Lin Yu reacted, it was the real answer. You people from the sky region killed people indiscriminately. Why are you asking me? Lin Yu pointed directly at the three sequences of the sky region. At this moment, the three of them were stunned. Just as they were about to speak, Lin Yu spoke again. You said that you didn't care about killing people from the lower sea region. That's why we were able to survive. However, there are people from the primitive continent, the upper sea region, and the 5 regions. Lin Yu's voice was heard. He was starting to cry. Although he didn't really cry. However, his tone contained 30% fear, 30% anger, and 40% innocence. Everyone was shocked by this scene. We misunderstood him. Yeah, how could it be Lin Yu? Are your brains filled with feces? The sequences of the 4 great families of the primitive continent are so powerful. How could Lin Yu beat them? It's obvious that it was done by the sequences of the sky region. The sky region has gone too far. Not only did they kill people from the 4 great families, but the divine priest of light also took the lead to wrongly accuse good people. Lin Yu, don't be afraid. Our eyes are sharp. Everyone shouted. Lin Yu calmed down a little, but that feeling of shock was still imprinted in the eyes of others. They didn't know that Lin Yu's main business was film emperor. And Qin Yi, Queen of Hell, Lin Xiu, Lin Yuan, and Bai Jiu. These 5 teammates of Lin Yu also looked at him directly at this moment. They didn't know that their captain had this side to him. And just now, when the divine priest of light began to attack, they were ready to advance and retreat together at any time. But they didn't expect that this attack would be easily solved by Lin Yu. Divine priest of light, do you really think this old man is old and confused? The people of the sky region have always looked down on us. I didn't expect that they would directly treat us, the 4 great families, as fools. If you don't give us an explanation for this matter, even if there are restrictions in the Emperor City today, we will not let you off. For a while, the people of the primitive continent and Realm Sea all pointed their spears at Lin Yu. When Yun Luo, Wang Jie, and Qi Lu saw this, they knew that they couldn't hide it anymore. They were all killed by Lin Yu. Yes, it has nothing to do with us. Lin Yu almost killed us all. But after they spoke, the people below became even angrier. Bastard, you still treat us as fools. I'm so angry. People of the sky region, I want you to pay with your life. Everyone, let's attack together. So what if you are from the sky region? We have people. Chapter 837. The Sequence Emperor City was in an uproar. Emotions surged. All of a sudden, the originally supreme Tianyu camp became the target of public criticism. Yet, the three sequences couldn't speak of their bitterness. There were only two reasons. First, they were already strong enough before. They were so strong that they looked down on people from other camps. With their strength, they had the chance to kill all the sequences from the primitive continent. Second, Lin Yu. Because this kid's acting skills were beyond the understanding of the three sequences. Even the dignified divine priest of light felt a little unstable at this moment. He originally wanted to vent his anger on Lin Yu. On one hand, he was worried that his Tianyu would be wronged. On the other hand, Duke Zhu died in Lin Yu's hands. Therefore, the divine priest of light attacked Lin Yu in advance, wanting to get rid of this opponent. But he didn't expect. This kid's acting skills and determination were beyond his understanding. Under his interrogation, he could still put on a show so skillfully. Divine Priest of Light, the four clan leaders had already surrounded the Divine Priest of Light. Impudent, are you trying to rebel? The Divine Priest of Light's old face was red with anger. Although the Divine Priest of Darkness was also angry, when he looked at Lin Yu, he only felt that this lord was different. It's very different from before. Perhaps with the current lord, he has a chance to take back what belongs to him. The Divine Priest of Darkness felt emotional. But the situation in front of him was indeed a little bad. Rebel? What a joke. Our primitive continent and Tianyu have always been on equal footing. How can we rebel? Clan leader Nangong was furious. Xian Ming and Di Luo, the two superiors of the Sea region, also joined the battlefield. Seems like Tianyu is bullying us because there is no one in Tianyu. They killed our sequence and still want to frame Lin Yu. Supremacy, Xian Ming snorted coldly. Originally, he didn't have a good impression of Lin Yu. After all, the other party dared to contradict him. But Supremacy Xian Ming felt that he should help reason instead of family. Lin Yu was someone from Realm C and he was the one who protected Realm C. Although they respected this light divine priest, now that they were stepping on Realm C's head, they still wanted to wrong them. After all, if Lin Yu's accusation was confirmed just now, Lin Yu would have died. Then, what awaited Realm C would be the fury of the primitive continent. At that time, the consequences would be unimaginable. Towards this type of person who almost made Realm C and primitive continent fight, how could they let him go? The Divine King said that violence is forbidden in the sequencing Emperor City. Have you forgotten? The Divine Priest of Light became nervous. After all, the Qinyun realm had brought two heavenly priests and the wind and lightning gods. Factions could be said to be the strongest in the three realms. However, right now, if the primitive continent and Realm C's camps were added together, their fighting strength might surpass his own people. Once the other party chose to fight to the death, even the Divine Priest of Light would not be able to gain any advantage. Master, what should I do now? The three who had died already knew the severity of the situation. Who would have thought that this time, he would go for wool and come home shorn? He didn't kill Lin Yu to avenge himself. He had really screwed over his own master. What should I do? The Divine Priest of Light narrowed his eyes. His 5 fingers formed a claw and terrifying pressure directly locked onto the three of them. This matter started because of the three of you, so the three of you should be the ones to forgive. The Divine Priest of Light's palm landed. The three of them directly flew out and knelt in front of the 4 great families and the 2 venerables of Realm C. Divine Priest of Light, what is the meaning of this? Master, don't. Fallen, Wang Jie and Qi Lu knelt down and begged for forgiveness. Then, what they faced was the cold voice of the Divine Priest of Light. Since your echelon was killed by these 3 people, this seat will hand them over to you. You can deal with them however you want. The divine priest of light stood with his hands behind his back. He had a righteous appearance, but his heart was extremely vicious. Master, it was Lin Yu who killed them, not me. Master, we already fought with the people of the primitive continent. Although we won, we couldn't kill them all. That's right. Although we fought with them, the result was only a small victory. After all, although the echelon of the primitive continent wasn't strong, they had more people than us. Shut up. You still want to wrongly accuse the echelon of our realm, see? Xian Ming could no longer bear to continue listening. You're still leading the conversation even now. If it wasn't for you guys, could it be that those few 4 symbols realm cultivators in my realm C could kill so many geniuses of the primitive continent? Killed with what? Did you kill them in your dreams? Xian Ming said. That venerable Di Luo also helped to laugh. The truth is right in front of us. My realm C, the 4 great families and the echelon of the 5 regions all suffered heavy casualties. The one who had it the most comfortable was your heaven region. Only one of the 4 echelon died. He probably died when he killed our echelon, right? Hearing the words of these old foxes, every word was reasonable, but their attitude was also a bit unyielding. Qi Lu and the other 2 couldn't refute at all. The 3 of them looked at Lin Yu and wanted to cry but had no tears. Now, facing the anger of so many experts on the god list, they might as well have been killed by Lin Yu in the 10-square world. The Donghuang clan leader was the most senior person present. He took the lead and said to the Divine Light Priest, "Divine Light Priest, you can think clearly. This matter arose because of the Heaven region. It is reasonable to settle it with the lives of the echelon of the Heaven region." What he meant was that if the Divine Light Priest was determined to hand over the 3 echelons, then this matter would be settled. But if he didn't agree, then the Divine Light Priest would have to face everyone's anger. After listening, the Divine Light Priest only felt that he was being threatened. He looked at the 3 echelons on the ground and felt his heart bleeding. These 3 people, including the dead Duke, were all geniuses that the Qingyun realm had spent countless resources to nurture. However, at this moment, they could only eat this damned cat alive because of Lin Yu's words. "Are you sure that it was our heaven region who killed them?" The Divine Light Priest's cold voice sounded. "Otherwise, it was our realm C who killed them? Why don't you say that it was an internal strife among the 4 families?" The Divine Light Priest heard this and could only close his eyes. He was sure that there was no use in explaining. "Dark Priest, what do you think?" The Dark Priest's face twitched. "Why are you asking me now? Haven't you already made up your mind?" When the Divine Light Priest threw out the 3 echelons to stop the other experts on the Divine ranking list from taking action, he knew that the Divine Light Priest was going to sacrifice the rook to save the king. "Fine, then these 3 people are at your disposal," the Divine Light Priest said. He knew that if he hesitated for a while, he was afraid that a war would really break out. At that time, not only would he not be able to leave, but he might also trigger a war between the 3 realms and 5 regions. He couldn't bear that responsibility. As soon as he finished speaking, the fury of the 4 great families, 5 regions and realm C, all of the dead echelons landed on the 3 great echelons. "It wasn't us. It really wasn't us. Lin Yu, say something. Lin Yu, I was wrong. I won't trouble you anymore." "Lin Yu," they roared angrily, but Lin Yu was still supported by Lin Yuan and Lin Xiu at this moment, and he felt wronged. Killing intent and anger engulfed the 3 echelons. They symbolized the strongest of the younger generation of the Heaven region. Duke died in the hands of Lin Yu, and the other 3 people who were lucky enough to escape and wanted to take revenge on Lin Yu were also beaten to death at this moment. Are you satisfied? Chapter 838. The light divine priest did not even look at the 3 corpses on the ground. His face was extremely gloomy as he asked. He wanted to know if these people were satisfied. This group of ignorant trash was actually forced to send out 3 of his disciples. Moreover, he did not have a chance to fight back, because what he had caused now was public anger. Water could carry a boat, but it could also capsize it. Although these people were usually afraid of him, but in this situation where they were all angry, there was a chance to kill him. However, just as the crowd had calmed down, when the sequencing Emperor City began to calm down, thunder surged in the sky above the sequencing Emperor City. The sudden change in the sky seemed to mean that a gate of heaven was about to open in the sky. That was the entrance to the heaven region. It was also the highest place in the 3 realms and 5 regions. Lord Divine King, the light divine priest's hoarse voice was heard. He thought that the 6-winged divine king had personally descended and was about to redress his disciples' grievances. In the sky, the 6-winged divine king's voice was indeed heard. Solemn, cold. This voice spread in all directions. There was only one sentence. Bring the number 1 on the sequence list, Lin Yu, to see me. This was an order. At the same time, it was also a title. From this moment on, everyone who was shocked by this voice could not help but look at the youth, who was almost wronged. Lin Yu. Number 1 on the sequence list. It's actually him, the 3 people from the heaven region. Number 1 on the sequence list means the strongest sequence. Could it be that this kid really killed the people from the primitive continent? Damn it, could it be that we wrongly blamed Lin Yu? Everyone's anger was ignited again. Lin Yu narrowed his eyes slightly. Naturally, he also recognized that voice. Not bad. It was very similar to the person who attacked him in the 10-square world. It turned out that he was really the 6-winged divine king. But this time, it was not a divine thought that transmitted the voice, but the voice of the main body. It was just a voice transmission, but it gave Lin Yu a feeling of life and death crisis. The 6-winged divine king wanted to see Lin Yu. Not only did the conferment give Lin Yu a reputation, but it also pushed him to the heart of the storm. In the future, everyone in the 3 realms and 5 regions would know that Lin Yu was ranked first on the sequence leaderboard. Perhaps, Lin Yu felt that if he really went to the heaven realm to meet the 6-winged divine king, then he would not have a future. The divine king only left behind these words. The sky regained its calm. The sky was clear and boundless. But then, the atmosphere in Sequencer City exploded once again. Lin Yu, why are you number 1 on the ranking board? Tell me, did you kill him? Were you acting just now? The crowd was in a frenzy. The divine priest of light roared, "You only know now? I've already told you, this kid is the murderer." There was a hint of grievance in his voice. A superior like him was actually playing the emotional card at this moment. It seemed that the emotional card was very useful in any group of people. Those 3 disciples of mine died in vain. Looking at the corpses on the ground, the divine priest of light felt that he had lost face, but his anger was greater than the death of his disciples. However, he still wanted to use the death of his disciples to let everyone vent their anger on Lin Yu. For clan leaders, I don't need to say more about this, right? The divine priest of light said coldly. At the same time, he glanced at Xian Ming and Venerable Di Luo. There were also people from the Western Xumi sect, Dongxing Taoism, and the other 4 regions. It was these people who had forced him to give away his disciples. This, as the leader, the Dongguan clan leader was also speechless. They had no right to know the situation in the 10-square world, but the 6-winged divine king could. Since the divine king said that Lin Yu is ranked first on the sequence leaderboard, then this matter might really be related to him. The Dongguan clan leader's words made everyone believe that they had been deceived. Lin Yu, pay with your life. Damn it, he actually deceived us. If it weren't for the divine king's verbal order, I'm afraid we would have been fooled by this kid. Lin Yu, come out and face your death. Everyone's reaction was even more intense than before. This time, Lin Yu not only confirmed the crime of killing another sequence, but also added the crime of deceiving everyone. Seeing this, Reverend Boundless and Reverend Violet Glow also revealed difficult expressions. This matter hasn't been clarified yet. Just based on the fact that the Divine King conferred Lin Yu a title, you're saying that he's a murderer. Aren't you being too presumptuous? That's right. Before this matter is clarified, we still need to investigate first. What, you want to do it? Venerable Wuya and Venerable Zixia said one after another. However, as soon as they finished speaking, above the vault of heaven, there was suddenly a burst of pressure. That was the pressure from the Divine Priest of Light. At the same time, there was a second and third pressure. That was the pressure from the 4 clan leaders. Not only them, but also the Upper Sea Domain, the Middle Sea Domain, the Demon Sect, the Ghost Land, the Western Shumi Sect, and the Dongxing Sect. The experts of these forces also locked onto Lin Yu at the same time. Old Crow, it seems that this time we can't be kind. There's no other way. Just now, even the Divine Priest of Light, in the face of this situation, could only choose to send out 3 of his sequences to quell the anger of the public. This time, it seems that we can't leave. Even if we can't leave, we have to send a few of them out. Damn it, if they killed the sequence, then they killed the sequence. Killing is allowed in the 10-square world. That's natural. You have to believe that if our sequence of the Lower Sea Domain died in their hands, I'm afraid we wouldn't even have a place to reason. But they are different. They think that the lives of their sequences are more important than ours. Qini, Queen of Hell, you guys go with Lin Yu and Lin Yuan. Master will guard this place. Only 10 breaths of time, boy, go back to the Boundless Sea Domain. The protective array there can protect you for a while. Venerable Zixia and Venerable Wuya had already prepared for life and death. Even Qin Yi, Lin Yuan, Lin Xiu, Bai Jiu, and Queen of Hell, the 5 of them also began to mobilize their cultivation. Bai Jiu and Lin Xiu can be said to be people of other forces, so they don't need to take the blame with Lin Yu. But this time, even if they came out of the 10-square world, they still remember how Lin Yu protected them in the 10-square world. This time, Lin Yu is in trouble. These people naturally won't stand by and watch. In an instant, all 5 of them gathered around Lin Yu. Captain, should we run or fight? Captain, you say something, we will listen to you. Bai Jiu and Queen of Hell said one after another. The atmosphere has reached a state of mutual hostility. But Lin Yu was still not in a hurry. It's okay. After saying that, he walked out. Captain, be careful. The 5 of them were worried that if Lin Yu went out at this moment, he might be killed by those people. It's okay. Lin Yu just smiled faintly, letting these people rest assured. Immediately, he walked to Venerable Wuya's side. Boy, hiding behind is fine, this is Master's business. Lin Yu smiled and cupped his fists. Thank you, Venerable, but this is a small matter, Venerable doesn't have to worry. Small matter? Surrounded by so many powerhouses on the Divine God list, he could be killed at any time. This is actually a small matter? Venerable Wuya was shocked. Venerable Zixia felt that Lin Yu was not clear-headed, maybe he was scared silly. In the sky above, the few experts who had unleashed their auras locked their gazes on Lin Yu. Seeing Lin Yu come out, the Divine Priest of Light sneered. Do you want to die by yourself, or do you want us to help you? The 4 patriarchs and the others also looked at Lin Yu, waiting for his answer. Chapter 839. The Light Divine Priest wanted Lin Yu to die like his disciple. In fact, he wanted Lin Yu to die 10 times more tragically than the deaths of those 3 echelons. Only in this way could he eliminate the deep hatred of losing face today. And next to the Light Divine Priest was the Dark Divine Priest. He was also the strongest person present and ranked at the top of the divine list. His gaze fell on Lin Yu. It seemed that he was making things difficult for Lin Yu like the others. In fact, he was thinking about what would happen if they really fought in a while. How to save this lord. His life was more important than the Dark Divine Priest's own life. And Lin Yu obviously didn't know what the Dark Divine Priest was thinking. He just spread his hands. Facing the powerful Heavenly Divine Priest and the 4 Patriarchs, these were the strongest existences in the 3 realms and 5 regions. He smiled faintly. Lin Yu said slowly, "The Heavenly Divine Priest is dead. The primordial continent sequence is also dead. Among the sequences present, is there anyone who objects to me being the first on the list?" His voice came. It seemed to be vaguely reasonable. It was also at this moment that Qin Yi immediately understood. The sequences that were alive now were all his people. So as long as they think that Lin Yu was the strongest and deserved to be the first on the list, then what does him becoming the first on the list have to do with killing the primordial continent sequence? No, Captain is the real strongest in the sequence. Yes, we are all convinced by Captain. Bai Jiu and Queen of Hell said one after another. Lin Yuan and Lin Xiu also said at the same time. No objection. Qin Yi smiled sweetly. The other sequences are all dead. Among the sequences that are still alive, young Master Lin is worthy of being the strongest. Several of us have already seen this in the 10-square world, so the Divine King conferred young Master Lin as the current number 1 on the list. We are also convinced by this. Hearing Qin Yi's words, those who were still angry at this moment felt like a basin of cold water was poured on their heads. The Divine Priest of Light's face twitched. For a moment, he felt as if he had fallen into Lin Yu's logic vortex. The old patriarch of the Donghuang clan clapped his hands after a moment of dizziness. So that's how it is. The Immortal King chose the number 1 on the list of sequences based on those who are still alive. This doesn't mean that Lin Yu is the strongest in the 10-square world. That's right. Strictly speaking, he's the most powerful echelon cultivator here. I told you, that brat is so ordinary. How could he kill the people of the primitive continent? You guys didn't believe me just now. We were muddle-headed. The God King chose the number 1 on the sequence leaderboard. Naturally, it would be the sequence leaderboard with living ears. Could it be that he chose a dead person to be number 1 on the sequence leaderboard? Everyone suddenly understood. Lin Yu nodded at Qin Yi with satisfaction. Among all the women, he and Qin Yi had the best tacit understanding. Seeing this, the Divine Priest of Light snorted coldly. That doesn't mean that he's not the murderer. Lin Yu smiled faintly and stood with his hands behind his back. He was not afraid of the Divine Priest of Light at all. It seems that the Divine Priest of Light is still a little unwilling to accept the fact that his disciples have been executed. Law? Law? What law? My 3 disciples. He wanted to say that the 3 of them did not kill anyone. But Lin Yu would not give him a chance to talk nonsense. Divine Priest, are you saying that we have wronged your disciples? Or that I have the ability to kill so many people on the primitive continent? If I had the ability to do so, when the Divine Priest wronged me just now, perhaps I would have already fought back. As a cultivator, we have established our lives for heaven and earth and our hearts for the Great Way. How can we be wronged by you? Lin Yu spoke vehemently, and everyone turned their eyes to the Divine Priest of Light. Now that Lin Yu had once again proven that he was not the murderer, these people naturally thought that the Divine Priest of Light did not believe them and felt that they had wronged his sequence, so he wanted to find Lin Yu and wait for an opportunity to take revenge. As a heavenly official of the Qin realm, isn't he a bit too petty? That's right. He has to admit his mistakes. This Divine Priest of Light has already asked his disciples to admit their mistake. Why is he not admitting it now? Is he sick? I think he's just embarrassed. This person has wronged Lin Yu twice, but it was resolved by him. As the saying goes, what's true can't be false, and what's false can't be true. This divine priest's character is clear as day. Hearing these words, the divine priest of light narrowed his eyes. If there were no other Spirit King realm experts present, he might have already killed Lin Yu. Lin Yu, today's matter will come to light one day. Young people can be immoral, but I hope you will behave yourself in the future. Hearing the divine priest of light's excuses, Lin Yu smiled. Forget it. If the divine priest of light is not willing to accept the punishment of his sequence, I, Lin Yu, am right here. You can kill me immediately. I won't resist. With that, Lin Yu stepped into the air and arrived in front of the divine priest of light. He spread out his hands and closed his eyes. He looked as if he was ready to be killed. Although this scene did not shock the entire crowd, his appearance of bravely facing death was deeply imprinted in everyone's hearts. This child, is he willing to die to prove his innocence? Among the practitioners of our generation, there is such a young talent. He deserves to be number one on the sequence. No wonder the Divine King personally invited Lin Yu to meet him. This person is still so courageous in front of the Divine Priest of Light. He is unparalleled among the younger generation. Seeing that everyone was speaking up for Lin Yu, the Divine Priest of Light's expression turned ugly. Especially when he stared at Lin Yu, who looked as if he was about to die. He was furious, but he could not attack. Once he attacked, he would incur the wrath of the crowd. Secondly, this person was someone the six-winged Divine King personally wanted to meet. He still had the task of bringing him back to the sky region, so he could not kill him. If Lin Yu had died under everyone's blades, the Divine Priest of Light could bring back a corpse. But now, if he attacked in broad daylight and the six-winged Divine King heard about it, he would be guilty of deceiving the Emperor. Divine Priest, are you not killing me now because there are too many people here? Lin Yu saw that the Divine Priest of Light did not dare to attack and said, if that is the case, why don't you come to my place in the middle of the night? Divine Priest, don't worry. Only you and I know about this. Even if Lin Yu dies in your hands, I will not tell anyone. The Divine Priest of Light was not the only one who heard this. Everyone present also heard this. The Divine Priest of Light was stunned. You are so shameless. Not only could he not kill Lin Yu, but if Lin Yu was assassinated at night, the Divine Priest of Light would have to swallow this darned cat personally. In other words, in the Divine Priest of Light's position, not only could he not kill Lin Yu, but he also had to protect Lin Yu's life in order to protect his innocence. He had to safely send Lin Yu back to the sky region tomorrow. Chapter 840. Damn it! The Divine Priest of Light cursed in his heart, but he could only hold back his anger. Knowing that everyone was looking at him now, the Divine Priest of Light could only greet Lin Yu with a smile. I am not a person who abuses justice. Lin Yu, don't worry, I will definitely send you safely to the Divine King. If anyone dares to touch you during this period, they will be going against me. This voice came, with some majesty of the Divine Priest of Light. This allowed the others to somewhat understand the reason behind this. In this regard, many people who once respected the Divine Priest of Light felt that the other party was a bit ridiculous. Of course, the Divine Priest of Light also understood this point. It's just that now that he had fallen into Lin Yuan's trap, he had no chance to resist. Since the matter has been resolved, then today's matter is over. I announce the sequence battle of 10 Square World. The Divine Priest of Light was not willing to give others more opportunities to slander him. Then, he put on a solemn face again. His deep voice spread all over. Sequence Emperor City, one after another heard his voice. Number 1 on the sequence list, Lin Yu. The Divine Priest of Light announced the conferment. After that, it was also in the Divine King's voice. Because only Lin Yu was conferred the title. Therefore, Others, such as Qin Yi, Lin Yuan, Bai Jiu, and Queen of Hell, were not ranked. Of course, because the other sequences were all dead. Therefore, these people were jointly ranked second on the sequence list. There was no order. This was also the unexpected result of the sequence battle. Venerable Wuya and Venerable Zixia saw that Lin Yu had resolved the crisis by himself and nodded with some relief. Everyone dispersed on their own. And Qin Yi and others also knew that now was not the time to follow Lin Yu. But although the problem of the divine priest of light was temporarily solved, but she understood that Lin Yu was facing a bigger problem at this moment. He needed to go to the Tian domain to see the six-winged divine king. Qin Yi and others were completely unfamiliar with the six-winged divine king. However, as Lin Yu's woman, she had a premonition that Lin Yu didn't want to see the godly king. At the same time, given what the divine priest of light had just done, if Lin Yu really went to the Qinyun realm, he might suffer a great loss in the Qinyun realm. Everyone returned to their own residences. As for Lin Yu, he chose to be alone in his residence. Venerable Wuya and Lin Yuan did not come in to disturb him. As for Supremacy Boundless, he had originally thought that Lin Yu being personally summoned by the six-winged divine king might be a great opportunity for him. However, the moment Lin Yu returned, he hid in his room and did not come out. Along the way, he did not have the joy of a young man being summoned by the number one expert on the heavenly god ranking. Venerable Wuya had also seen through some of the clues. Could it be that this brat has some grudge with the six-winged divine king? That's not right. What kind of powerful existence is the six-winged divine king? How could he have a grudge with this brat? However, if he isn't, any person of the younger generation would choose to be wild with joy after being summoned by the God King. However, this brat is completely silent. Venerable Wuya couldn't understand and looked at Lin Yuan next to him. Brat, do you know what happened? Lin Yuan was silent for a while and only said one sentence. Master doesn't like the six-winged divine king. After saying that, without waiting for Venerable Wuya to ask again, Lin Yuan had already locked himself in his residence. Only Venerable Wuya was left alone in the reception hall, depressed. He doesn't like the six-winged divine king. Could it be that this old man guessed right? Venerable Wuya had a bad premonition. If there was really some grudge, then wouldn't Lin Yu's trip to the Qinyun realm bode ill rather than well? No, I have to think of a way. It wasn't easy for such a powerful figure to appear in the realm sea. If Lin Yu was given some time to grow, Venerable Wuya believed that Lin Yu could be stronger than him in the future, and would definitely become a powerhouse on the Divine God list in the future. He couldn't just die in the hands of the people of the Qinyun realm. Although the six-winged divine king was the reigning king of the 3 realms and 5 regions, and the 3 realms and 5 regions seemed to be on equal footing. However, the divine king was the first on the divine god list, and the divine god list was a way to measure the strength of all powerhouses. Then the six-winged divine king was the king of the 3 realms and 5 regions. Therefore, no one dared to disobey his words. However, Venerable Wuya's current state of mind was different. In the past, he naturally couldn't disobey, but now, he encountered his own people and was about to be in danger. He had to disobey no matter what. On the other hand, Lin Yu, who was in the room, chose to meditate cross-legged at the first moment and raised his cultivation to a stable state. Bai Xiaoli's voice also came immediately after Lin Yu finished his cultivation. That guy wants to see you? Bai Xiaoli guessed. She didn't know the six-winged divine king, but from the voice transmission, she could tell that the other party's voice was exactly the same as the person who wanted to kill Lin Yu in the 10-square world with his divine sense. That's right, the strongest person in the Qinyun realm. Are you surprised? The corner of Lin Yu's mouth curled up, but he wasn't too frightened. Regarding this, Bai Xiaoli also smiled in appreciation. You're quite bold, kid. You should know that this is the outside world, not the 10-square world. That guy's real body is here. You should understand the difference between a real body and a divine sense. 100 times. Lin Yu only said 2 words. That's right. Under the restriction of the 10-square world, the descent of a divine sense only had 1% of the real body's combat power. However, just that 1% was already the combat power of the peak of the Spirit King realm. One could imagine how terrifying the power of the 6-winged Divine King's real body was. And if this kind of power was used to deal with Lin Yu, how could he resist? Lin Yu didn't know what the result would be. But since he came out, he must be under the other party's control. Just as Lin Yu was thinking, in the sky above the guest hall where he was, there was a thunderous sound. The thunderous sound came from the light divine priest, and his voice also fell into Lin Yu and Honorable Wu Ya's ears. Lin Yu is the number 1 on the sequence list, and he was personally summoned by the Divine King. In the name of the Qin Yun Divine Priest, I set up a barrier to protect Lin Yu. Tomorrow morning we will depart to the Qin Yun realm without delay. After that, the voice reverberated in the sequencer city. Those who didn't know the inside story were already envious of Lin Yu. This kid is really a carp that leaped over the dragon's gate. Yes, now everyone knows that he is the number 1 on the sequence list, and also the youth with the most potential in the 3 realms and 5 regions. Not only that, now that he was personally summoned by the Divine King, maybe he will look down on the Realm Sea in the future. Once he becomes the Divine King's direct disciple, I think even the experts on the Divine God list will have to bow and bend their knees when they see him. That's right, the Divine King's disciple, that is the dream of many young people. Don't talk about the young people, even I want to become the Divine King's disciple. Unfortunately, I have lived for 1,000 years and don't even have the qualifications to see the Divine King. Lin Yu, this kid, why is his fate so good? To this, Lin Yu naturally couldn't be bothered to care. After the light divine priest set up the formation, the dark divine priest smiled tentatively. Looks like the light divine priest values Lin Yu a lot? Chapter 841. The Divine Priest of Light narrowed his eyes and looked down at Lin Yu's residence. He said softly, "Ha, this lad is full of tricks. I'm just being on the safe side." He recalled how Lin Yu had hinted to everyone that if anything happened to him, the Divine Priest of Light would definitely be responsible. The Divine Priest of Light was not a fool. Naturally, he had made his stand clear. Now, everyone knew that he was protecting Lin Yu. Since he had already made his stance clear, no one else would suspect him. "Dark Priest, do you think I'm doing something wrong?" "You have your reasons, Divine Priest of Light." The Divine Priest of Light smiled faintly and did not say anything else. Instead, he glanced at the palace where Lin Yu was. However, he did not say anything and left with a wave of his sleeves. However, in the eyes of the Divine Priest of Light, this action was a little unusual. He has never been interested in the younger generation. Could it be that Lin Yu's talent is so high that he cares about him? The Divine Priest of Light muttered to himself. Although in the outside world, if the Divine Priest of Light and the Divine Priest of Darkness were present at an event, the Divine Priest of Light would definitely make the decision. However, the Divine Priest of Light knew that it was just because the other party did not want to care about these ordinary things. In terms of combat power, he was no match for the Divine Priest of Darkness. Therefore, even though the Divine Priest of Light often made decisions on different occasions and was more reputable than the Divine Priest of Darkness in the 3 realms and 5 regions, however, he knew how powerful the Divine Priest of Darkness was. This person could be said to be the most talented person in the Qin domain, second only to the 6-winged Divine King. Because of this, such a person would never take the so-called young geniuses seriously, because he himself was the most powerful genius. However, this time, after knowing that the Divine Priest of Light was going to block Lin Yu's guest hall, the divine priest of darkness took the initiative to show interest and even followed him. Damn it. Lin Yu, this lad, can't be allowed to grow. The divine priest of light knew that since there was already enmity between him and Lin Yu, in that case it would be impossible for the two of them to coexist peacefully in the future. On the contrary, when he saw the attitude of the King of Gods and the Dark Priest towards Lin Yu, he was shocked. This made the divine priest of light even more certain that he could not let Lin Yu grow. Otherwise, when Lin Yu was stronger than him in the future, the divine priest of light would be the first to deal with him. Tomorrow, if you do anything wrong, I will definitely kill you at the first opportunity. The divine priest of light made up his mind. Once Lin Yu made a mistake in front of the divine king, the divine priest of light would have an excuse to kill Lin Yu. In another direction, Lin Yu sensed the two auras in the sky. He had already guessed the other party's background through Bai Xiaoli. Of course, it was difficult for him to sense their auras, even if it was honorable boundless. If the divine priest of light and the divine priest of darkness had intended to hide it, no one would have noticed it, just like the first time the divine priest of darkness had made a move. Therefore, only Bai Xiaoli had the ability to sense the approaching danger when the other party was hiding their auras. Are you really going to meet him, or what? Bai Xiaoli asked. She was worried that Lin Yu did not have the confidence, so she casually said, "Don't worry, even if it's his real body, I can still save your life." Lin Yu smiled faintly. "You're so capable? What a joke. If I can release my real body, then what is the six-winged divine king? Those fellows locked up in the 10 sacred grounds, which one of them is not stronger than the six-winged divine king? The 10 sacred grounds." Lin Yu was curious. "You haven't heard of it?" Bai Xiaoli laughed softly, as if she felt that Lin Yu was ignorant. Lin Yu just shrugged. He did not know, and he could not pretend to know. "Tell me." Bai Xiaoli was silent for a while before saying, "There are 10 sacred grounds in the universe, and in the 10 sacred grounds, we ancient beasts are locked up." Although Bai Xiaoli only casually mentioned the words ancient beasts, but in Lin Yu's opinion, if the other 9 beasts had the same combat power as Bai Xiaoli's real body, then they were not beasts. They were super big beasts. "Who put you in there?" Lin Yu asked curiously. Bai Xiaoli snorted. "Of course it's that annoying guy. That guy thought he could change the past and let humans dominate the universe. Unfortunately, the people in the 12 universes he created were all greedy and only knew how to pursue supreme power. In the end, they even lost the most precious thing." Hearing Bai Xiaoli scolding humans, Lin Yu felt a little awkward. He coughed and said, "Then what universe does the 3 realms and 5 domains belong to?" According to Bai Xiaoli, the 3 realms and 5 domains were just one of the 12 universes, and the person who locked them up was able to create such a huge universe. This person could no longer be described as a human. He was the creator of the universe, the creator of the universe. This broken place is the 12th universe. It's also the weakest of the 12 universes. Bai Xiaoli smiled contemptuously. "So you know, not to mention those fellows locked up in the 10 sacred lands, even the master gods of the other 11 universes have stronger combat power than the 6-winged divine king you're facing." "Kid, you still have a long way to go." Just as Bai Xiaoli was about to say something to Lin Yu, she heard Lin Yu ask, "So in the weakest universe, you're also the weakest of the 10 sacred lands? Impudent. How can you use the word only to describe me?" Bai Xiaoli said angrily. Her voice was so piercing that Lin Yu's mind trembled. He used his divine thought and immediately calmed Bai Xiaoli down. After all, this was his body. How could he allow Bai Xiaoli to be so presumptuous? The 10 sacred lands have no direct relationship with the 12 universes. You can understand them as. Bai Xiaoli hesitated for a moment, not knowing how to make Lin Yu understand. Lin Yu just took a sip of tea. "Just say it. I can understand. It's like 2 strings of Buddha beads intertwined together." Bai Xiali laughed softly as if she felt that she had become smarter. Yes, Buddha beads. 2 strings of Buddha beads, each string of 10 beads, that's the 10 sacred land. 1 string of 12 beads, that's the 12 universes. The 2 strings of Buddha beads are rotating, probably every 1 million years there will be a place that connects. This time, it just so happens that the sacred land I'm in is connected to your 12th universe. Lin Yu nodded. Then it's fate. 1 million years, in the long years. How many million years could a warrior experience? In a million years, how many invincible geniuses would appear out of nowhere and become an overlord? Chapter 842. It's not fate. It's your great fortune. If you're late, I'll be leaving. Bai Xiali snorted coldly, as if reminding Lin Yu to cherish himself. Lin Yu could only smile. He was now trapped in the cage set up by the divine priest of light. How could he be in the mood to chat with this guy? Plus, it was getting late. When dawn comes again, it will be time for him to head to the Qingyun region. At that time, there would be greater danger. What should he do? Is there any way to get out of here? You want to escape? Bai Xiali chuckled when she saw that Lin Yu wanted to escape. This is also a good idea. It's not realistic to leave. Lin Yu shook his head. The entire sequencer city was probably already under the control of the Divine King. Since the other party wanted to see him, he wouldn't let him escape so easily. With the Divine King's ability, plus the rule that the spiritual king realm couldn't use force in the sequencer city was set by him, it wouldn't be a problem for him to control the entire sequencer city. I can't leave the city. How about leaving this palace? Where do you want to go? Bai Xiali asked again. She realized that no matter how many years she had lived in the past, she could guess Lin Yu's thoughts. But when facing Lin Yu, it was difficult to guess his thoughts. This young man looked like he was only in his teens, but his calmness and shrewdness were enough to make Bai Xiali look at him in a new light. I'm going to the Nangong family. I have something to do. Lin Yu's eyes were deep as he patted his storage ring. Nangong Tian, who was inside, seemed to have been struck by lightning. I was wrong. Let me out. Nangong Tian's wail could be heard. Lin Yu didn't bother to pay attention to it. He continued to smile at Bai Xiali. I need to save someone before leaving the Qingyun region. That's easy. Bai Xiali smiled. Lin Yu had already arrived at the back door of the guest hall. Right now, Venerable Wuya and Lin Yuan should be resting, and under the cover of Bai Xiali, even a Spirit King realm expert would not be able to detect his movements. They arrived at the edge of the welcoming hall, which was also a boundary set up by the Divine Priest of Light. If they were in the Sky Desert universe, Lin Yu could have used the teleportation array that he knew of to leave. Open. While he was still pondering, Bai Xiali's voice suddenly rang out in his mind. A divine sense swept out, causing Lin Yu's mind to buzz. But in the next moment, a human-shaped hole appeared in the barrier. Couldn't you have told me in advance? Lin Yu rubbed the space between his eyebrows. This fella's single word had actually damaged his spiritual will. Bai Xiali giggled. Humans are too weak. Who knew that you couldn't even withstand a single word from me? Ignoring him, Lin Yu headed straight to the Nangong clan. Borrowing Bai Xiali's power, he concealed his aura and freely entered the Nangong clan. At this moment, even though it was late at night, the Nangong clan was still brightly lit. Wailing sounds could be heard constantly. Lin Yu narrowed his eyes. He could tell that the Nangong clan was holding a funeral. Son, Huang how could you die in the 10-square world like this? What should I do if you die? Son, those bastards from the Tian domain died just like that. It's really too easy for them. Huang is dead, Tian is also dead. Tian has the aptitude of a spirit king. How could he be killed just like that? Those bastards from the Tian domain are too strong. There's nothing we can do about it. How can there be nothing we can do about it? Tian has our Nangong clan's magical ability, the devouring starry sky. No matter how strong they are, it's impossible. Sigh, the devouring starry sky inherited from the elders is, you know it too. If it wasn't for Nangong Ming, that be *tch, taking away the devouring starry sky that we had accumulated for generations, if Tian had cultivated the orthodox devouring starry sky, maybe he wouldn't have died this time. Nangong Ming, it's Nangong Ming again. Did that be *tch's daughter say anything? No, Nangong Yu is the same as her mother. She's also a b *tch. We've already beaten her to a pulp, but she still hasn't said a word. Then send a man to rape her. The devouring starry sky will be taken out. Initially, the elders planned to send Tian to take Nangong Yu's body after he came back. Who knew that something like this would happen? The elders are already choosing people. Tian and Huang are dead. Whoever takes out the devouring starry sky will be the successor of the Nangong family. B*****. My Tian just died, and they're already thinking of replacing him. Lin Yu stood outside the Nangong family's main hall and listened to the few auras fighting against each other. He smiled faintly and patted the storage ring a few times, causing Nangong Tian to wail in pain. It turned out that Nangong Yu was still alive because the sequence battle had just started. Nangong Tian had to prepare for the sequence battle and had no time to be distracted. The Nangong family imprisoned Nangong Yu because they were waiting for Nangong Tian's triumphant return. Madam, you can't blame the elders for this. They've already chosen a candidate. What did you say? How could they be so fast? Nangong Feiyun from the side branch is second only to Tian and Huang. He's the third person in the younger generation of the Nangong family. He has just entered the 10,000 spirits realm, so, as soon as our main branch died, their side branch wants to step on us. I won't allow this, madam, calm down. Nangong Feiyun is probably at the place where Nangong Yu is imprisoned. Damn it. That belongs to Tian. No one is allowed to touch it. The door of the main hall opened and a woman rushed out. If Lin Yu guessed correctly, she should be Nangong Tian and Nangong Huang's mother. She was also Nangong Yu's aunt. Madam, calm down. It's useless even if we go. The old ancestor is personally in charge of this. He's now outside the forbidden area. Tonight, Nangong Feiyun will take out the devouring starry sky. Old ancestor. The woman's voice became hoarse. She knew that although her husband was from the main branch and the future clan leader of the Nangong family, there was still the old ancestor above him. The old ancestor was a top power on the heaven god ranking. May I know where Nangong Yu is now? A voice was heard, and the two of them immediately became wary. Even with their skills, they did not notice that there was someone nearby. Did that mean that the other party had heard their conversation? Who's there? Nangong Qintian's angry voice was heard. He was Nangong Tian and Nangong Huang's father. He was also Nangong Ming's brother. Nangong Qintian looked in the direction of the voice. Footsteps could be heard from the dark corner. The newcomer walked into the lantern light, illuminating a face that was extremely familiar to them. Lin Yu. Chapter 843. Damn it, why are you here? Very well, since the first on the sequence leaderboard is here, tell us how the people from the Qingyun region killed our Tian. Nangong Tian's mother said coldly. People from the Qingyun region? Lin Yu smiled casually. Nangong Qintian snorted. With our Tian's strength, it's strange that he died in the hands of the people from the Qingyun region. Nangong Qintian squinted his eyes and stared at Lin Yu. He was curious about Nangong Tian's death. However, the fact that Lin Yu had appeared here without anyone noticing was also inconceivable to him. After all, the Nangong family was surrounded by the family protecting formation. How did this brat get in? Nangong Tian is not dead. Lin Yu knew that he couldn't afford to waste any time. This bunch of bastards had found someone to replace Nangong Tian. You're saying that my son is not dead? Nangong Qintian's silhouette flickered as he appeared 3 feet away from Lin Yu. Stretching out his hand, he grabbed Lin Yu's neck. Where is he? At the same time, Nangong Tian's mother appeared behind Lin Yu. The two of them had no intention of letting Lin Yu leave. Is this the attitude you should have when questioning someone? Lin Yu shrugged. He wasn't afraid of the two of them. He is indeed not dead, so shouldn't you be thinking about protecting Nangong Yu? Lin Yu smiled. If Nangong Yu's devouring galaxy is taken away, what's the point of Nangong Tian coming back? The people from the branch will still kill him. Nangong Qintian and his wife heard Lin Yu's words. Initially, they thought that this brat was just a youngster and they didn't take him seriously. In addition to the rumors from the outside world, the reason why Lin Yu was ranked first on the sequence leaderboard wasn't because he was powerful, but because the sequence leaderboard from the Qingyun region and the primitive continent were all dead. Therefore, he took advantage of the loophole. To them, this brat was the head of a chicken, not the head of a phoenix. Madam, what this kid said makes sense. Indeed, but where is Tianer now? The two of them coldly shouted. At this moment, Lin Yu's eyes narrowed slightly as he spoke with an icy tone. If you hesitate any longer, I guarantee that Nangong Tian won't live to see the sun tomorrow. His words were full of threats. Hearing this, the two of them became even angrier. You dare to threaten us? Brat, do you know how the last person who threatened our Nangong family died? When Lin Yu heard this, he smiled and stood with his hands behind his back. Facing the threat of these two people, he didn't even have the desire to fight. If you don't believe me, you can kill me right now. However, you should know that I'm currently number 1 on the sequence leaderboard. The person the six-winged God King wants to meet personally. It was also the Divine Priest of Light's order that no one can touch him. His words shook the minds of Nangong Qintian and Nangong Wuk. At this moment, the two of them realized that this kid was very bold despite his young age. No wonder you're number 1 on the sequence leaderboard. Haha, we were too impulsive. Nangong Qintian rolled his eyes. With Lin Yu's current status, it wasn't easy for them to deal with him. In fact, in the entire sequence leaderboard city, there wasn't a single force that dared to touch Lin Yu when they knew that the God King wanted to meet Lin Yu. That was equivalent to challenging the authority of the six-winged God King. Such a person might not even exist in the 3 realms and 5 regions. If that's the case, lead the way. Lin Yu waved his hand and took a step forward. Nangong Qintian's fingers were still around Lin Yu's neck. When Lin Yu took a step forward, Nangong Qintian had no choice but to withdraw his hand. If anything happens to Nangong Yu, Lin Yu smiled faintly along the way. I want the entire Nangong family to die with her. His words were calm. However, the more calm he was, the more Nangong Qintian and Nangong Qintian felt that Lin Yu wasn't saying something impulsive. Instead, he was stating a fact. Don't worry. It's not time yet. Nangong Qintian said. Soon, the 3 of them arrived at the core area of the Nangong family. This area was protected by many arrays. From afar, a huge golden figure could be seen floating in the air above a palace. The figure was like the sun that shone brightly in the sky. Within the illusory image was a white-haired old man. At this moment, the old man circulated his cultivation. Below him, in front of the palace, was a young man who was meditating. He had replaced Nangong Tian. Tonight, he was going to obtain Nangong Yu and retrieve the devouring star. He was the 3rd person in the younger generation of the Nangong family. At this moment, he was still meditating. Old ancestor Nangong also sensed Nangong Qintian's arrival. Stop. Old ancestor Nangong didn't say anything. The person who spoke was the leader of the Nangong family. Nangong Qintian, the devouring star doesn't belong to your family anymore. Nangong Tian is already dead. What are you two doing here? The leader of the family spoke. At the same time, he saw Lin Yu, who was standing between Nangong Qintian and his wife. They didn't participate in the sequence battle, so they didn't recognize Lin Yu. However, when they saw Lin Yu, a look of disdain appeared on their faces. He didn't have any cultivation. He was just a good-looking man. He was nothing special. My Tian isn't dead. Tonight, Nangong Yu and the devouring star can't be given to your son. Nangong Qintian said coldly. His wife also took a step forward. What nonsense are you talking about? The clan leader and the experts of the Qingyun realm have already confirmed it. All the sequences from the 4 families died in the hands of the Qingyun realm's sequence battle. Everyone knows about this. Why are you still acting crazy? I think the two of you are crazy because you want your son to be the next leader. That's right. If you know what's good for you, get lost. From now on, the future of the Nangong family will be in the hands of our son. As for Nangong Tian and Nangong Huang, they are already outdated. Naturally, all the members of the family moved out. To them, tonight was the day that their family would rise to power. They would do their best to stop anyone who came to disturb them. Nangong Qintian's appearance wasn't surprising to the members of the family, as he was the one who benefited from the previous battle. Old ancestor Tian isn't dead yet. Please stop. Nangong Qintian ignored them and shouted at old ancestor Nangong. Shut up. Are you crazy? I think your son is dead. Nangong Qintian, you don't want to live anymore. Let's attack him together. Tonight is a big day for our family. We can't allow the main family to behave atrociously. That's right. The main family has bullied us for so many years. How dare they continue to ride on our heads? Dream on. Chapter 844. Nangong Qintian was so angry that his face turned red. Bastard! If my Tian'er loses the devouring sky, I'll teach you a lesson. As soon as he finished speaking, the couple had already started fighting with the people from the subsidiary families. Lin Yu shifted his body and appeared at the outer circle of the array. At this moment, a powerhouse from the Nangong family's subsidiary family attacked him with his palm. How dare you come here? You're courting death. The powerhouse from the subsidiary family was at the initial stage of the 10,000 spirits realm. At this moment, the power of 10,000 spirits flame was gathered on his palm and a flaming 10,000 spirits seal was shining between his eyebrows. However, Lin Yu did not even look at him. He swung his right hand casually and dozens of sword chi shot out. They were so fast that the powerhouse could not dodge them in time. What? The powerhouse did not expect Lin Yu to be so powerful. In his opinion, Lin Yu was just a thief who had no cultivation base and wanted to sneak in to take advantage of the situation. In the beginning, he didn't want to kill Lin Yu. Instead, he wanted to capture Lin Yu to threaten Nangong Qintian when he saw Lin Yu and Nangong Qintian together. However, dozens of sword chi shot out at an unimaginable speed. The powerhouse at the 10,000 spirits realm put his hands in front of him to block the sword chi. However, Lin Yu's sword chi contained the power of the 8 great void tribes Qian Kuan unification chi. How could he block it? The sword chi pierced through the powerhouse and a corpse appeared on the ground. Blood splattered everywhere. Many people from the Nangong family looked over. This person is so powerful. Damn it. Stop him. More and more people from the subsidiary families rushed over. In their opinion, they had the advantage in numbers. No matter how powerful Lin Yu was, the Nangong family's subsidiary families were confident that they could defeat him. However, it was a pity that they were facing Lin Yu. The 10,000 spirits seal shone brightly. However, under the Qian Kuan unification qi, these people were turned into blood clots again. The people from the Nangong family were shocked. This kid is too powerful. Damn it. Retreat. Those who still wanted to go forward, not only did they not dare to charge at Lin Yu, but they all retreated. Nangong Qintian and the others also looked over. They brought Lin Yu here for their son, Nangong Tian. However, this time, Lin Yu had killed a few of the Nangong family's juniors. To them, this was a huge disaster. This won't do. We have to take down that brat first. Otherwise, we'll be the first to suffer. When Nangong Qintian thought of this, he clawed at Lin Yu. However, Lin Yu had already arrived in front of the barrier. Nangong Qintian could tell with a single glance that this brat wanted to barge into the barrier set up by old ancestor Nangong. Idiot, do you think you can open the ancestor's barrier? Do you really think you're number one on the sequence? However, before Nangong Qintian's voice could be heard, a crack appeared on the barrier in front of Lin Yu. Enter, he went in. Nangong Qintian didn't dare to believe his eyes. After Lin Yu entered, the barrier closed up again. Just as he was about to enter, the light above the barrier directly repelled him. Pooh! Nangong Qintian coughed out a mouthful of blood. He thought that the ancestor Nangong's barrier had been opened, which was why Lin Yu was allowed to enter. However, it was obvious that the barrier wasn't opened. Moreover, it was extremely powerful. It was obvious that the ancestor Nangong placed great importance on this inheritance. However, why was that brat able to enter? Nangong Qintian didn't dare to believe his eyes. The people from the subsidiary families also rushed over. When they saw Lin Yu entering the barrier, they were shocked. This is bad. Nangong Qintian, who did you bring with you? If you disturb the ancestor and Nangong Feiyun's inheritance, when the ancestor blames you, I won't let you off. The people from the subsidiary families scolded Nangong Qintian. Nangong Qintian coldly snorted and said, "This person is the number one on the sequence." He was personally conferred the title by the six-winged Divine King. He knew that at this point, he could only bring out the six-winged Divine King to calm the situation. However, it didn't matter if the others blamed Lin Yu. As long as they didn't drag him down, it would be fine. After listening, the people from the Nangong family's subsidiary families were also shocked. He is Lin Yu? This person is quite something. Even if he is the number one on the sequence, if he offends the ancestor in the barrier, I'm afraid he will die in the ancestor's hands. It's best not to touch him. This person is the number one on the sequence. In addition, I heard that the ancestor will personally summon him tomorrow. If he dies in our Nangong family, before the leader of the subsidiary families could finish his words. However, the others had already sunk into silence. Lin Yu represented the authority of the heaven region. How would they dare to offend him? Within the barrier, the ancestor Nangong, who was in the air above the main hall, also noticed that someone had intruded. He immediately opened his eyes. Who are you? The person who came to persuade you to stop, Nangong Yu. I'm going to take her away. Lin Yu's calm voice sounded. He didn't stop as he approached the palace below the ancestor. Lin Yu could guess that Nangong Yu was inside the palace. Only if Nangong Yu was inside would there be such a huge lineup. Outside the palace was the young genius of the Nangong family who had just stepped into the 10,000 spirit realm, Nangong Feiyun. If Lin Yu didn't come, then Nangong Yu would be his person tonight. What trash scram! Nangong Feiyun said coldly. Ancestor Nangong immediately shouted, "Close your eyes and cultivate. After you calm down, enter the palace. Don't delay." After he said that, Nangong Feiyun didn't dare to say another word. Ancestor Nangong looked at Lin Yu. His words just now clearly didn't take Lin Yu's words to heart. As the supreme ancestor of the Nangong family, he didn't need to give face to a younger generation. It seems that reason doesn't make sense? Lin Yu smiled faintly. With a step, he appeared at the edge of the palace. He was just a breath away from entering the palace. Lin Yu's actions made Ancestor Nangong furious. "How dare you?" His angry voice sounded, followed by an earth-shattering palm force that suppressed Nangong Feiyun. Lin Yu frowned and immediately took a step back. But at the same time, the door of the palace opened. "The time has come. Go in." With that, Nangong Feiyun's eyes were filled with joy. He licked his lips and jumped into the palace. Nangong Yu was in danger. Lin Yu frowned. He saw Ancestor Nangong raise his hand again. It was like the sun falling into the mortal world. Great sun tempering heaven. Ancestor Nangong snorted. This person was also an expert of the Spirit King realm. Lin Yu, on the other hand, activated the 8 steps of Taishu and turned into a wisp of green smoke. Green smoke and great sun. They collided directly. Rumble. A powerful shockwave burst out, shattering the ground. The high walls of the palace were all destroyed. The people outside the barrier also noticed this moment. They were immediately shocked. The battle has begun. Impossible. Is that kid crazy? How dare he attack the ancestor? I think it's the ancestor who wants to kill him. Everyone was worried. After knowing Lin Yu's identity, they didn't want to kill Lin Yu. Once Lin Yu died, the Nangong family would be in trouble. Ancestor, you can't kill this kid. Ancestor, please have mercy. Chapter 845. At this moment, both the branch family and the main family were begging for mercy for Lin Yu. It wasn't that they were nice to Lin Yu, but that they were afraid of death. However, the battle outside the hall continued. Lin Yu had already drawn the king's sword in his right hand. He turned into a wisp of green smoke and went against Ancestor Nangong's sun quenched the heavens. He was the strongest person in the Nangong family. However, even with Ancestor Nangong's state of mind, he couldn't help but be shocked. Someone from the younger generation is able to fight with me to this extent? He frowned. Even though he was still attacking viciously, he was trying to figure out Lin Yu's identity. He initially thought that Lin Yu was just a piece of trash who was courting death, but now, he had to re-evaluate Lin Yu's background. The technique that he used definitely doesn't belong to the Nangong family. Even Nangong Tian from the Nangong family wouldn't have such powerful combat power. There aren't many people from the younger generation who are more powerful than Nangong Tian in the 3 realms and 5 regions. Who are you? Ancestor Nangong's attack was countered again. Lin Yu knew that he couldn't delay any longer, so he said coldly, "You don't have the right to know who I am," but as soon as he finished his sentence, a figure flew out of his storage ring and landed on the ground. Although old Ancestor Nangong was old, he was still able to clearly see the person's face with his sharp brows and starry eyes. Even though the other party was extremely haggard and was no longer the rising star of the Nangong family. However, the Nangong family's voice was still hoarse. Tian. Nangong Tian was the younger generation that he valued the most. He thought that Nangong Tian was the future hope of the Nangong family and was even given the sky-devouring technique. Even though it wasn't the orthodox sky-devouring technique, it was the greatest recognition that the Nangong family could give. At this moment, Nangong Tian was kneeling in front of Lin Yu like a dog. Let me go," while he was begging Lin Yu. He also recognized the scene around him. This is the Nangong family. His territory. Nangong Tian thought that he was still trapped in Lin Yu's storage ring. But now, Father, Ancestor Nangong Tian saw Nangong Qintian, who was surrounded by the enchantment. Soon, he saw Ancestor Nangong, who was shining like the sun. Patriarch, Patriarch, save me! When the voice rang out, everyone's minds were greatly shaken. Nangong Tian was not dead. The hope of the Nangong family was not dead. Use his life to exchange for Nangong Yu's life. Lin Yu's cold voice was heard. Ancestor Nangong immediately confirmed Nangong Tian's condition. Lin Yu didn't kill Nangong Tian in the beginning, so the tendons in his arms and legs were still there. Although this kid's cultivation base was damaged, it wasn't irreparable. If anything were to happen to Nangong Yu, he would lose his life as well. Lin Yu's calm voice was heard again. His emperor's sword was placed on Nangong Tian's neck. How dare you! Old ancestor Nangong roared. Nangong Qin Tian, who was outside the enchantment, finally understood what was going on. If Nangong Tian said that Nangong Tian was not dead, now it seemed like Lin Yu was the one who kidnapped Nangong Tian. This kid's target is Nangong Yu. Lin Yu wasn't afraid of ancestor Nangong's threat at all. The emperor's sword in his hand flashed, and there was a wound on Nangong Tian's neck. The wound wasn't fatal, but it was enough to intimidate everyone. Stop! Try to save him. Let's see if my sword is faster than your sky-piercing Sunday. Lin Yu looked at ancestor Nangong calmly. Meanwhile, in the hall, Nangong Feiyun licked his lips and approached Nangong Yu's bed. 20 feet. 10 feet. Little beauty, what's the use of your mother betraying the Nangong family? Nangong Feiyun knew that with ancestor Nangong's help, he had the right to take Nangong Yu's body. All of this belonged to Nangong Tian. In the end, Nangong Tian, the future successor of the Nangong family, will still be mine. Haha, you and your brother are idiots. You've been suppressing me for so many years. It's great that you died in the sequence battle. Nangong Feiyun laughed sinisterly. At the edge of the bed, there was a girl who was tied up. She couldn't move her body, but her sexy figure was accentuated by the rope. Beautiful, what a perfect body. Moreover, there's the Nangong family's most orthodox devouring sky in your body. Nangong Feiyun reached out his hand towards Nangong Yu and Fanjinjin. The hall was covered with red curtains, which obviously meant that a wedding was about to take place. Fanjinjin's red veil was about to be removed by Nangong Feiyun. However, at the next moment, a ray of light shot out from it. It was a silver needle that shot out from Nangong Yu's mouth towards Nangong Feiyun's head. Clang! Nangong Feiyun sneered and casually flicked the silver needle away. It seems that this is the only trick you have left. Nangong Feiyun laughed even louder because he saw Nangong Yu's face. It was flawless. Nangong Ming was the most beautiful woman in our family. I didn't expect his woman to be even more beautiful. Nangong Feiyun laughed even more crazily. Very well, it's all mine. After tonight, everything in the Nangong family will be mine. Brother Lin Yu. Nangong Yu's face was pale. Her final attack, which she had gathered all her strength to resist, had been so easily neutralized. Since she was kidnapped, she had been tortured countless times. However, when she thought of Lin Yu, she endured the pain. She couldn't tell anyone about the devouring sky. She could only let others think that the devouring sky was still in her body. If not, once Lin Yu became the Nangong family's target, Lin Yu would be in great danger. Nangong Yu didn't want Lin Yu to be hurt. However, when the Nangong family found out that the devouring sky was still in her body, they tied her up. What awaited her was the humiliation of the Nangong family's descendants. Get lost. Get lost. Don't touch me. Nangong Yu shifted her body, wanting to retreat. However, she was already injured and she was tied up tightly. How could she move too much? At this moment, Nangong Feiyun felt that Nangong Yu's current state was more attractive to him. The more you struggle, the more excited I am. Nangong Feiyun was ready to pounce on Nangong Yu. However, at this moment, the doors of the hall suddenly opened. Nangong Feiyun turned his head. Who is it? Are you looking for death? Don't you know that the ancestor is protecting me? As soon as he finished speaking, he saw a palm force grab him. Ancestor! The person who grabbed him was Ancestor Nangong. At this moment, Nangong Feiyun was thrown out by Ancestor Nangong's palm. He didn't even have the chance to touch Nangong Yu. Whoosh! When Nangong Feiyun saw the beauty in front of him getting further and further away, he wanted to die. However, in the next moment, the scene changed and he was thrown out of the hall. Ancestor Nangong was still squatting in the sky. Nangong Feiyun was confused. Ancestor, I want to devour the sky. He didn't know why he was thrown out at the most critical moment. However, Ancestor Nangong didn't even look at him. Instead, he looked at Lin Yu and Nangong Tian. Are you satisfied? Chapter 846. Are you satisfied now? Lin Yu remained calm after hearing Ancestor Nangong's words. He glanced at Nangong Feiyun. Nangong Feiyun was furious because he saw him. Ancestor, who is he? Nangong Feiyun immediately thought, did Ancestor Nangong throw me out because of this brat? However, Nangong Feiyun was shocked when he saw Nangong Tian beside Lin Yu. Nangong Tian. He was the most powerful person among the younger generation of the Nangong family. He was the nightmare of all the younger generation, including Nangong Feiyun. Because of Nangong Tian, Nangong Feiyun had never been able to raise his head. Not only was he inferior to Nangong Tian, but he was also inferior to his younger brother, Nangong Huang. However, after Nangong Tian's death, Nangong Feiyun's future became brighter. However, he was chased out just when he was about to obtain the most orthodox skill of the Nangong family. Nangong Tian, no. I must have seen wrongly. Nangong Feiyun couldn't believe it. He turned around to look at Ancestor Nangong, but Ancestor Nangong didn't look at him. Obviously, Ancestor Nangong still felt that Nangong Tian was the best candidate to obtain Nangong Yu. At best, this Nangong Feiyun was just a substitute. In order to maintain their competitiveness in the future, the internal conflicts of martial arts families were extremely cruel. Ancestor. He's not Nangong Tian. Nangong Tian is dead. Tian is only severely injured. We'll talk about the devouring sky later. As Ancestor Nangong said that, Nangong Feiyun roared and wanted to rush into the main hall. As long as he got Nangong Yu, even if Nangong Tian came back, he would be able to crush them. But now Nangong Feiyun didn't care anymore. He couldn't return the glory to Nangong Tian now. Get lost. Ancestor Nangong's angry voice was heard, and a powerful wave fell from above the main hall. The wave formed an air wall and pushed Nangong Feiyun away. Nangong Feiyun spat out a mouthful of blood. He was obviously injured by Ancestor Nangong. However, he knew that he couldn't enter the main hall, so he turned to look at Nangong Tian. As Ancestor Nangong said, Nangong Tian was severely injured. Very good. Nangong Feiyun's eyes flashed with a cold light. Since he was injured, if he killed him now, wouldn't the Nangong family still be his in the future? Whoosh. At the thought of this, Nangong Feiyun turned into a shadow and approached Nangong Tian instantly. You piece of trash, what are you trying to do? Nangong Tian was only afraid of Lin Yu, but he was not afraid of Nangong Feiyun. As far as Nangong Tian knew, Lin Yu was the only person among the younger generation in the 3 realms and 5 regions that he took seriously. As for the others, they were just trash. Trash, you are the trash. Nangong Feiyun's eyes were bloodshot as he stared at Nangong Tian. The seal of 10,000 souls between his eyebrows had already extended a barb. If you die, everything you have will be mine. By then, you will be trash. As soon as he finished his sentence, the 10,000 souls seal attacked Nangong Tian. Nangong Tian would never have thought that this piece of trash, who had been suppressed by him, would dare to kill him now. Ancestor, save me! Be **starred. How dare you? Nangong Qintian was enraged. The people from the subsidiary sects had also realized the situation. At this moment, they did not agree with Nangong Feiyun's impulsive decision. However, since Nangong Feiyun had made a move, they would kill him while he was down. They would kill Nangong Tian to prevent the people from the main sect from coming back. Nangong Qintian, you colluded with Lin Yu to kill my people. Everyone, take them down. The people from the subsidiary sects stopped Nangong Qintian. Ancestor Nangong's face darkened. He raised his hand and attacked Nangong Feiyun. However, his speed could no longer catch up with Nangong Feiyun. The barb shot out. It was the tail of a demonic beast. The tail went straight for Nangong Tian's life. Nangong Yu, that be *tch, will only be mine if you die. Nangong Feiyun roared. However, his barb stopped in mid-air. Silence. Nangong Feiyun's voice stopped in mid-air. He stared at his seal of 10,000 souls, which was being grabbed by a hand. It was a young man who was looking at Nangong Feiyun calmly. Nangong Yu yours? Lin Yu raised his eyebrows. However, before Nangong Feiyun could react, his seal of 10,000 souls was pulled by Lin Yu. Crack! Nangong Feiyun felt a sharp pain in his glabella. Why? How is this possible? This brat's strength. Cultivation of 10,000 souls. Nangong Feiyun was sent flying by Lin Yu. Damn it, damn it. Nangong Tian, you found a helper? He steadied himself in mid-air. Nangong Tian escaped death. However, Ancestor Nangong sneered. What are you waiting for? Back off. However, Nangong Feiyun's body trembled violently. He suddenly felt a chilling aura of death spreading from the bottom of his feet to the top of his head. Nangong Feiyun's eyes widened and he retreated. However, he was still too slow. A ray of sword qi pierced through Nangong Feiyun's chest. Fast. Shockingly fast. Nangong Feiyun stared at Lin Yu. At this moment, the young man put down his hand casually. That ray of sword qi was shot out from his hand. He killed 10,000 souls in one move. That was because Nangong Feiyun said something that he shouldn't have and had thoughts that he shouldn't have. Nangong Yu is mine. Lin Yu smiled faintly. Nangong Tian was shocked when he saw this. This brat became stronger again. Thank you for saving my life. He immediately kowtowed as he knew that Lin Yu had saved his life. Everyone in the Nangong family also saw Nangong Tian kowtowing to Lin Yu. The genius that they were so proud of was nothing more than this. Chapter 847. That person was Lin Yu, the number one on the sequence leaderboard personally appointed by the Supreme Being. The Nangong family was shocked by what they saw. He killed Nangong Feiyun so casually. They thought that he was the third young genius after Nangong Tian and Nangong Huang. Then, Lin Yu's power was enough to make Nangong Tian bow down to him. This kid was definitely not as simple as his mortal aura made him out to be. Tian Nangong Qintian's heart was bleeding. It was the first time he saw his son, whom he was proud of, kneeling to someone. Furthermore, it was a young man. Even when he was facing Ancestor Nangong and clan leader Nangong, Nangong Tian was still arrogant. That was because of his talent, which was also his pride. However, his pride was worthless in front of Lin Yu. Lin Yu ignored Nangong Tian. Even after killing Nangong Feiyun, he didn't even look at him. He looked at the door of the palace that was opened. Lin Yu spread out his spiritual will and locked onto a girl's aura. That was Fan Jinjin, who was also Nangong Yu. Bastard, how dare you kill someone from the Nangong family in front of me? Ancestor Nangong shouted furiously. He unleashed his spiritual king realm cultivation and the entire palace was engulfed in a scorching aura. At this moment, the palace was like the sun that fell on the Nangong family. The sun that flattened the earth. The base of the 4 families in the sequencer city fell into darkness. At this moment, the sky was lit up again because of the battle between the Nangong family. What's going on? Nangong family, that's the direction of the Nangong family. An expert of the spiritual king realm has attacked. The people from the other clans also looked over. They had other territories in the primitive continent, but because of the sequence battle, many elites of the families moved to the sequencer city to help. This was also the time for the 4 families to show their strength. At this moment, in the Dongwang family, an ancestor stroked his long beard and squinted his eyes in surprise. What kind of opponent could make that old monster so angry? Naturally, he knew that the person who attacked was the Nangong family's strongest fighter. At the same time, he was also one of the strongest fighters who represented the 4 major families. Ancestor, should we go and take a look? No, unless it was those 2 heavenly priests, no one would be able to leave alive from the hands of that old thing. This old man is curious, who was it that fought with him? It wasn't just the Dongwang family. The Western Dark Clan and the Northern Moi Clan were stationed in their respective bases in Sequentium City. They also sensed the fluctuations from the Nangong family's battle. The Supreme Old Ancestor has made his move. That old monster hasn't made a move for many years. That's right. It's been more than 10 years. The last time I acted was against Nangong Ming, who betrayed the Nangong family. The old monster is old. He even let Nangong Ming escape last time. Run? Although Nangong Ming had run away at that time, I'm sure that she had suffered an incurable injury and wouldn't live for more than a few years. Then, who is the one courting death in the Nangong family today? In the Nangong family, it was difficult to determine the winner between the main family and the branch family. When they saw the old ancestor's rage, they started to worry again. Lin Yu deserved to die. However, with his status, he wasn't someone the Nangong family could kill. At least, before the 6-winged Divine King met Lin Yu, if Lin Yu died, the Nangong family would also be in trouble. Old Ancestor, please reconsider. Old Ancestor, this kid is first on the Sequentium board. However, the Old Ancestor couldn't hear their words at all amidst the tyrannical fluctuations of the battle. He raised his hand, and the hall was set ablaze by flames, turning into a fireball that resembled the sun. Rumble! The hall shook. Nangong Yu, who was in the hall, also sensed the abnormality outside. She had just escaped Nangong Feiyun's calamity, but now, she seemed to be facing an even greater calamity. The ground shook, and the hall turned into a sun. At the same time, 2 fiery snakes rushed towards Lin Yu's feet. He smiled faintly, stepped into the air, and dodged the fiery snakes with Nangong Tian. Let go of Tian. Seeing that his move had failed, the old ancestor thought that he could separate Lin Yu and Nangong Tian so that he could take the opportunity to save Nangong Tian. However, he didn't expect Lin Yu to be faster than he expected. He had the time to take Nangong Tian away while dodging the attack. Old Ancestor, save me! Nangong Tian kept calling for help. Lin Yu stood in the air and saw the fiery snakes splitting into 4 into 8, and attacking Lin Yu from all directions. If you want him alive, I've said it before. Give me Nangong Yu in exchange. Lin Yu said coldly. I won't be threatened. The 8 fiery snakes swallowed the sky and created 8 seas of fire in the night sky. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Lin Yu dodged again with Nangong Tian. 16 Dao restrictions. Old Ancestor Nangong's voice was heard again. The fiery snakes had split into 16. They were so fast and there were so many of them that they were at a higher level. Their movements were so precise that they could completely avoid Nangong Tian while attacking Lin Yu. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Damn it, how did he dodge the old ancestor's attack? The entire Nangong family, including Nangong Tian at his peak, could only dodge 8 Dao restrictions. This brat is not simple. We were too careless. Those who fought against Lin Yu just now were no match for him. The number 1 on the sequence leaderboard is indeed powerful. The Nangong family finally understood how powerful Lin Yu was. At this moment, Lin Yu shifted his body. He knew that he couldn't dodge for long under the attack of a spiritual king realm expert. Once he was controlled by the fiery snakes, he would lose the battle. You want him? Here he is. Lin Yu tossed Nangong Tian out with a thought. Nangong Tian flew towards the fiery snake. Old ancestor Nangong could only withdraw his attack. At the same time, Lin Yu didn't have to dodge anymore. However, he moved even faster towards the palace that was surrounded by old ancestor Nangong's sun-quenching heaven. Xiaoli! Lin Yu called out. Bai Xiaoli snorted, that's it? As soon as she said that, the sun-quenching heaven in front of her cracked open. It was just a crack, but it was enough for Lin Yu to enter. Impossible! Old ancestor Nangong sensed that something was wrong. How did you break my enchantment when you're only in the 10,000 spirits realm? Lin Yu couldn't be bothered. It wasn't the first time he had broken it. He instantly appeared in front of Nangong Yu. Nangong Yu's eyes were filled with tears. She thought that Nangong Feiyun had returned. Just as she was about to detonate the glory chi in her body to kill herself, she heard a familiar voice. It's me. Lin Yu. Brother Lin Yu. Nangong Yu was shocked. She was excited about Lin Yu's arrival, but she was even more surprised. This was the Nangong family. She knew how terrifying the Nangong family was, but how did her brother Lin Yu sneak into such a huge monster? Let's go. Lin Yu's strong arm wrapped around Nangong Yu's slender waist and lifted her up. Without any hesitation, they rushed out of the hall. Chapter 848. Nangong Yu. Old ancestor, we can't let him take Nangong Yu away. The rest of the Nangong family attacked at the same time. The king's sword in Lin Yu's right hand exploded, and green smoke surrounded it. Formless sword chi spread out. It was the 8 divisions of Great Void unifying chi of universe. Whoosh! A few of the Nangong family experts at the front were instantly killed by the green smoke. Lin Yu didn't want to stay any longer and wanted to leave. Above the firmament, a flaming palm pressed down directly. Stay here. Old ancestor Nangong had already saved Nangong Tian. Now that he was attacking with all his might, the houses behind Lin Yu were destroyed before his palm landed on Nangong Tian. The night sky was completely lit up. In Lin Yu's eyes, the space in front of him was distorted by the flames. The attack of a Spirit King realm expert could affect space. Brother Lin Yu, don't worry about me. Nangong Yu was frightened. Her entire world was filled with the endless flames from the palm. What kind of terrifying power was this? Nangong Yu had no idea about the power of a Spirit King realm expert. She only had one thought, and that was to prevent Lin Yu from being threatened. Nangong Yu instinctively stood in front of Lin Yu. At this moment, Lin Yu noticed something. It was old ancestor Nangong who took Nangong Yu away. It was no wonder that he could invade the boundless sea from the primitive continent, and even take someone away right under the nose of Honorable Wuya. Lin Yu grabbed Nangong Yu and threw her back. In his right hand, the king's sword emitted a sharp sword radiance. In the next moment, the king's sword turned into smoke. Unifying chi of universe. The endless sword chi collided with the palm of the Spirit King realm expert. Rumble. The people from the subsidiary and main sects all retreated. The powerful shockwave forced them back. Those who were at the front, even those in the 10,000 spirits realm, felt their blood boil. Those below the 10,000 spirits realm spat out a mouthful of blood. Even those who were a few hundred feet away were severely injured by the shockwave. What a powerful battle this was! That kid withstood the ancestors' attack. How is that possible? No matter how strong the younger generation of the 3 realms and 5 domains is, it's impossible for them to be at the Spirit King realm. The Patriarch is an expert on the divine ranking. Number 1 on the sequence. Is this the number 1 on the sequence leaderboard? In an instant, the scene of Lin Yu resisting Ancestor Nangong's full force attack and not being defeated was deeply imprinted in the eyes of everyone in the Nangong family. Even the people from the other clans felt that something was amiss at this moment. So powerful. There's another aura as powerful as old Ancestor Nangong. Who is this person? He doesn't seem to have the aura of the Spirit King realm, but the strength of his aura is Sword Chi. Who is it? Let's go and take a look. The people of the 3 great clans all looked over. Lin Yu's team, Qin Yi, Lin Yuan, Lin Xiu, Queen of Hell, Bai Jiu, and the others also noticed. Captain? Captain has made his move. Their hearts beat faster and they began to approach the Nangong family. Damn it, who the hell are you? In the Nangong family's hall, old Ancestor Nangong's roar was deafening. He did not believe that there was someone from the younger generation who could fight to a draw with him. Lin Yu hugged Nangong Yu again and quickly retreated. Old Ancestor Nangong knew that if this continued, he might not be able to hold Lin Yu back. Big brother Lin Yu. Nangong Yu's heart beat faster. When she was behind Lin Yu, she still felt a great sense of security, just like when Lin Yu saved her from Fan Jian. Ah! Nangong Yu saw the corner of Lin Yu's mouth and was immediately worried. Lin Yu was injured. Want to leave? Stay here for this old man. Old Ancestor Nangong's 5 fingers formed a claw and a suction force covered the sky. It was the divine ability of the Nangong family that he used with his Spirit King realm cultivation. Devour the stars. So. In an instant, the airflow in the sky was reversed. The cultivation in Nangong Yu's body trembled. This is... Nangong Yu suddenly felt a sense of familiarity. I'm fine. Lin Yu smirked. Is this old Ancestor Nangong's trump card? Old Ancestor, you can't use Devour the Stars against Lin Yu. Nangong Tian had already arrived at a safe place under the protection of old Ancestor Nangong. However, he was still worried when he saw this scene. Lin Yu had the orthodox Devour Stars in his body, and only Nangong Tian knew that. However, no one could hear his voice now. The entire Nangong clan was shocked when the Devour Stars was used. I didn't expect this brat to force old Ancestor to use his divine ability. Seems like his death was worth it. I'm just afraid that if the Nangong family kills Lin Yu, they will offend the 6-winged Supreme Being. We have no choice. That brat killed so many of our clan members and now he wants to save Nangong Yu. If he doesn't die, where will old Ancestor's face be? Where will our Nangong clan's face be? Just when everyone thought that Lin Yu was dead for sure, he turned his fingers into claws. In an instant, an even more domineering suction force appeared. In the center of Lin Yu's palm, a blue light instantly formed a huge vortex. It was a stark contrast to old Ancestor Nangong's scarlet Devour Stars. At this moment, old Ancestor Nangong's suction force completely dissipated around Lin Yu. How is this possible? This is... Old Ancestor Nangong's breathing quickened. Even with his current status, he was still shocked when he saw Lin Yu use Devour the Stars. No wonder. No wonder this brat risked his life to save Nangong Yu. He had already taken the orthodox Devour Stars. Damn it. This belongs to my Nangong family. Lin Yu shook his head helplessly. When Nangong Ming took it away, it no longer belonged to your Nangong family. Devour the stars only recognized the saintess. Nangong Ming and Nangong Yu had the orthodox devour stars in their bodies. As for who they gave the devour stars to, this was no longer something that the Nangong family could control. This brat will also use our devour stars. No, his is stronger than old ancestors. Why? This is impossible. The Nangong family was slapped in the face once again. Originally, keeping Lin Yu alive was just a casual move for old ancestor Nangong. However, he didn't expect that even after using all his trump cards, he still couldn't deal with Lin Yu. Not only could he not deal with him, at this moment, old ancestor Nangong's devour stars began to reverse. This was the orthodox beginning to restrain the pirated version. Bastard, this old man's cultivation. Old ancestor Nangong's heart trembled. Not only was he unable to keep Lin Yu here, but his cultivation was also being sucked away by Lin Yu. Lin Yu narrowed his eyes. He knew that he couldn't delay any longer. At this moment, the experts from the other families had already arrived. Their divine senses locked onto Lin Yu and old ancestor Nangong at the same time. Chapter 849. If you don't stop now, your spiritual king realm cultivation will be used by me. Lin Yu sneered. Ancestor Nangong's face darkened as he stopped his cultivation. Boom. The two of them were pushed back by the shockwave. Lin Yu didn't stay any longer and flew out of the Nangong family. Only then did the people from the other three great clans appear. Old thief Nangong, did you fail miserably at such an easy task? That brat is Lin Yu, right? Not bad, not bad. Is he too powerful, or have you regressed? You can't even hold him back? Ancestor Nangong's face turned red when he heard the mockery, but he couldn't say anything. Qin Yi and the others immediately went to Lin Yu's residence after seeing that Lin Yu had left safely. Baiju squinted his eyes and paused for a moment. He saw Nangong Tian in the sky. Ancestor, you have to help me. Nangong Tian told them everything that happened in the Ten-Corner world when he saw the four families gathered together. With his embellishment, it became that Lin Yu had taken the initiative to slaughter the members of the four great families. It wasn't that the sequences of the four families had surrounded Lin Yu to take over Lin Yu's territory. My son, Shi Ming Supreme. Lin Yu killed him. Damn it, damn it. Isn't he in sequence of the Qian domain? This brat. He lied to us. Nangong Tian, are you telling the truth? Nangong Tian was stunned. He did hide the truth in order to smear Lin Yu's reputation. But before he could say anything, Ancestor Nangong snorted angrily. How can this be fake? You've seen how powerful Lin Yu is. Even I can't do anything to him. If he wants to kill the other sequences, he has the ability to do so. Oh no. Baiju knew that something was wrong. He quickened his steps and headed to the guest hall where the Boundless Sea was. The people from the four great clans were also heading in the same direction. Outside the welcoming hall of the Boundless Sea, the divine priest of light used his powerful cultivation to set up the enchantment. Originally, no one could enter. However, when Lin Yu and Nangong Yu appeared, Bai Xiaoli released a spiritual will attack in Lin Yu's mind, tearing another hole in the barrier. At this moment, inside the barrier, Venerable Boundless looked at Lin Yu's empty room and fell into deep thought. Coupled with the fluctuations of the battle coming from the Nangong family's direction, he could guess that Lin Yu had gone to save them. Could it be that this kid went to save Fan Jinjin? Venerable Wuya said worriedly. Why didn't you tell me? It's too reckless. If the people who took Fan Jinjin away were from the Nangong family, how could he save her by himself? With this thought in mind, Venerable Wuya arrived at the edge of the enchantment. However, just as he was about to break through the barrier and leave, a rebounding force erupted. Rumble! The enchantment formed hundreds of light circles from top to bottom, directly locking onto Venerable Wuya. Divine Priest of Light, you've gone too far. Venerable Wuya roared angrily and dodged the light circles. However, he also knew that this was just a warning. With his current strength, he still couldn't escape the ending set by the Divine Priest of Light. The difference in their combat strength was too great. Meanwhile, in the Divine Priest of Light's bedroom, at this moment, he and the Dark Priest were looking at the teacups in their hands. The atmosphere was a little heavy. How did he do it? The Divine Priest of Light frowned, still unable to understand. With his vast knowledge, he naturally already knew about the battle between the Nangong family. He didn't need to show himself to know that it was the battle between old ancestor Nangong and Lin Yu. However, logically speaking, Lin Yu was already under house arrest. How could he appear in the Nangong family? Wasn't this a slap to his face? Dark Priest, do you know the reason? The Divine Priest of Light looked at him suspiciously. He was sure. In this sequencer city, if there was someone who could break through his enchantment, it could only be the Dark Priest, who was ranked higher than him on the Divine ranking list. Are you stupid, Divine Priest of Light? I've been with you all this time. The Dark Priest shrugged helplessly. After that, the Divine Priest of Light also retracted his gaze. I'm overthinking. I just don't understand how he got out. Since you don't understand, why don't you go and see for yourself? The Dark Priest smiled faintly. Those useless people from the 4 big families seemed to be looking for trouble with Lin Yu. So be it. It's best to kill that kid. The Divine Priest of Light snorted coldly. However, the Dark Priest shook his head. I think the 4 big families have been fooled by Lin Yu once. They might be fooled a second time. If they can't kill Lin Yu and Lin Yu escapes in the chaos. As soon as the Dark Priest finished speaking, the Divine Priest of Light had already turned into a ray of light and headed to the Boundless Seas guest hall. The Divine Priest of Light understood before the Dark Priest finished speaking. If Lin Yu died in the hands of the 4 big families, he could use the 4 big families as an excuse. Under the joint attack of the 4 big families, Lin Yu, who had angered everyone, was killed on the spot. Even if the 6-winged Divine King knew about this, the Divine Priest of Light would have a reason to say that he couldn't do anything. He would only receive a small punishment. However, if Lin Yu escaped under the Divine Priest of Light's nose, the Divine Priest of Light would be incompetent. After the Divine Priest of Light left, only the Dark Priest of Light was left in the bedchamber. He looked at the wine swirling in the cup in his hand. Sir, I'll help you get through this. The Dark Priest of Light smiled faintly as if he had made an important decision. He drank the wine directly. At the same time, his figure disappeared from the palace. In the guest hall, Venerable Wuya's old face was red. He couldn't get out, and he didn't know whether Lin Yu was dead or alive. Damn it, how did that kid get out? Is the Divine Priest of Light's barrier serious? Venerable Wuya was helpless. Kid, don't die in the Nangong family. You have to hold on until I save you. However, as soon as he finished speaking, the barrier in front of him suddenly cracked open. Venerable Wuya stared blankly as the 2 figures walked in. After that, the hole in the barrier closed without anyone noticing. How is this possible? Even with his spiritual king realm power, he couldn't break the barrier in the slightest. Now, he saw Lin Yu walk in, and he was being supported by Fan Jinjin. Fan Jinjin, Venerable Wuya, had seen Lin Yu's daughter once before. Although he didn't have much of an impression of her, Venerable Wuya had memorized Fan Jinjin's appearance many times because his goal wasn't just to participate in the sequence battle, but also to save someone. You brat, you really saved him? Venerable Wuya couldn't believe it. He stepped forward and saw that Lin Yu had some injuries. Greetings, Venerable One. Nangong Yu greeted him simply. Venerable Wuya's status was supreme in Nangong Yu's heart, as she was born in the Boundless Sea. However, She was worried about Lin Yu's injuries, and couldn't bow at all. What happened to him? Venerable Wuya asked immediately. Nangong Yu didn't hide anything and told him about the battle in the Nangong family. At the same time, she settled Lin Yu in a room. Chapter 850. What? This kid killed more than a dozen people from the Nangong family and saved you from the hands of old ancestor Nangong? Venerable Wuyao was shocked. The difficulty of this matter was something that even he couldn't do. What happened to Lin Yu just now? This Venerable One will help you heal. Now is not the time to ask so many questions. Venerable Wuyao grabbed Lin Yu's hand, and his tyrannical power turned into a warm current and was about to enter Lin Yu's body. However, a suction force suddenly appeared within Lin Yu's body, directly causing Venerable Wuya's power to lose its balance. Whoosh! Venerable Wuya's power was rapidly being pushed back. Lin Yu immediately pushed the other party away. What is this? Venerable Wuya's eyes widened. If Lin Yu hadn't taken the initiative to push him away just now, he was afraid that his power would be gone. Fortunately, Lin Yu didn't mean to hurt him. The current Venerable Wuyao was just a little weak, and he would be fine after resting for a while. Lin Yu knew that it was the devouring starry sky that he had not completely dispersed just now. Coupled with the divine item Heavenman Oneness Talisman, it formed a mechanism to protect his cultivation. Under this mechanism, if others wanted to invade Lin Yu's cultivation, they would be sucked dry in the first place. It's okay, I'll do it myself. After Lin Yu said that, he motioned for the two of them to leave the room. At this moment, Lin Yuan was also outside, guarding Lin Yu. Lin Yuan's face showed a ferocious expression. At the same time, Venerable Wuya also noticed that something was wrong. There were a few very strong auras that were approaching this place. Everyone left Lin Yu's room. Venerable Wuya frowned and heard Nangong Yu say, "It should be the people of the Nangong family." Nangong Yu's face was full of worry and guilt. If it weren't for her, Lin Yu wouldn't have been injured. It's not just them. Venerable Wuya shook his head. If it was just the people of the Nangong family, it wouldn't matter. But this time, there were at least 5 Heavenly God list powerhouses who came. Zixia sees Qin Yi requests an audience with Venerable Boundless. Purple Cloud sees Queen of Hell requests an audience with Venerable Boundless. Lin Xiu requests an audience with Venerable Wuya. Outside the barrier, Qin Yi and the others had already arrived. Without waiting for Honorable Boundless to reply, Baijiu hurriedly stepped through the air and arrived. Quick! Inform the captain to leave. This time, all the people from the 4 great clans are here. Baijiu's words shocked everyone. He arrived at the edge of the barrier. The enchantment set up by the divine priest of light actually worked. Venerable Wuya smiled helplessly. As for the others who wanted to enter, they were also blocked outside the barrier. Venerable One, how is Captain? The female king of hell bowed and asked. Venerable Wuya didn't expect that after the battle in the 10-directional world, Lin Yu actually made friends with these people. They knew that people from the 4 great clans were on their way to cause trouble for Lin Yu. But they still dared to stay here and stand on the same side as Lin Yu. This kind of loyalty was already extremely rare. It's fine, this Venerable One has already healed Lin Yu's injuries. His condition is now stable. Venerable Wuya said in a meaningful tone. Anyway, his skills were almost sucked away by Lin Yu just now, so it could be considered healing. If Captain is fine, let's hurry up and leave. Baijiu had just finished speaking when he saw the barrier separating the guest hall from the outside world, and snorted angrily. Damn divine priest of light! We can't leave. In the next moment, a powerful pressure came from behind everyone. They're here. As soon as Venerable Wuya's voice fell, several angry voices came from outside the barrier. Lin Yu, get out here! Lin Yu, you killed our family sequence. Our Shiming family and you are absolutely irreconcilable. Today, I, Bei Makwang, will make you pay with your blood. Nangong Yu's pretty face turned pale, and Lin Yuan also felt great pressure. There were others who looked at the sky with solemn expressions. The sky gradually brightened, but the appearance of these people, with endless killing intent, made the sky above the guest hall seem to have fallen into eternal night. Venerable Wuyao, hand over Lin Yu, and we can stop killing. Old Ancestor Nangong personally led the team, and on both sides were Patriarch Nangong and Nangong Qintian. Nangong Tian also followed beside his father, Nangong Qintian, and whispered. In his eyes, Lin Yu was destined to be a dead man today. Lin Yu is a member of our boundless sea. May I ask what he did to make the masters of the 4 great clans come in person? Lin Yu killed the sequence of our primitive continent. He is the culprit. We have already learned about this from nephew Nangong Tian. Yes, Lin Yu and old ancestor Nangong did not fall into a disadvantageous position. His combat power can definitely kill our sequence. I didn't expect that he could deceive all of us. It's not just deceiving us. That kid treats all of us as fools. Damn it. The leaders of the 4 great clans said one after another. Venerable Wuyan narrowed his eyes and glanced at Lin Yuan. Is what they said true? Like others, he had never entered the 10-square world, so he naturally did not understand what happened inside. Captain did not do anything wrong. It's them who deserve to die. Before Lin Yuan could answer, Bai Jiu and Yama spoke first. They had not known Lin Yu for long, but Lin Yu's character and ability were enough to convince them. Hearing these words, Venerable Wuyao was shocked. It turned out that it was really that kid who did it. Good. He killed so many brats who usually flaunted their power. This wave of operation was his peak moment in the boundless sea. Venerable Wuyao was in a good mood. With a righteous face, he said to the other powerhouses of the divine list, "This matter was not done by our Lin Yu. Old Crow, you are deliberately shielding him. Whether it was Lin Yu who did it or not, we will know when he comes out. Everyone be careful. That kid has the combat power of old ancestor Nangong. Don't underestimate him." When old ancestor Nangong heard these words, his old face was already a little unhappy. What do you mean by having the combat power of old ancestor Nangong? He was a dignified old ancestor of a family, but he was reduced to the point of having to compare himself with a junior? Lin Yu is now in seclusion. With this barrier, he can't get out. You guys should go back to where you came from. Venerable Wuyao waved his hand. Immediately, the 4 great clans exploded again. Can't get out? Then who was the person we saw just now? Old Crow, do you take us, the 4 great clans, for fools? This old crow is as arrogant as Lin Yu. Everyone, go and break his barrier. Venerable Wuya's old face was red with anger. You bunch of bastards, don't keep calling me Old Crow. I am Venerable Wuya. Good. If you want to touch Lin Yu, then come over. Venerable Wuya hooked his finger, provoking the others. Bai Jiu and the others were stunned. Were all the seniors now so willful? Very good, the Boundless Sea wants to start a war with our 4 great clans. The patriarch of the Dongwang family stepped out. The power of an early-stage Spirit King exploded and landed a palm on the barrier. Break for me! Chapter 851. Rumble. The force of the palm collided with the wizardry barrier, and waves of shocking ripples appeared on the barrier. Dongwang Patriarch alone can break this wizardry barrier. It seems that Dongwang Patriarch is not needed. Everyone was ready to attack the guest hall after the wizardry barrier was broken. But in the next moment, the ripples suddenly shrank after reaching their limit. The power of the palm strike just now was completely reflected back at him at this moment. What? Dongwang Patriarch's face changed, and he immediately stepped back. But the force of the rebound was too strong, and some of the ripples hit him. Puff! He was injured at the initial stage of the spiritual king realm. This, the wizardry barrier set up by the divine priest of light, is so powerful. What a great divine priest of light from the Qin Yun domain! The people of the four families looked at each other. Those at the initial stage of the spiritual king realm had no idea what to do. Only the patriarchs at the middle stage of the spiritual king realm stood up at the same time. Everyone, I didn't expect that we could cooperate one day. The wizardry barrier set up by the divine priest of light is no joke. Old Nangong, old Bei Moi, old Shi Ming, don't drag me down. Haha, the boundless sea is relying on the support of the Qin Yun domain. Today, let's show them that they can't afford to offend the primitive continent. The four of them attacked at the same time, and even Venerable Wuya frowned. Above the wizardry barrier, the powerful ripples of cultivation crushed down, and the entire barrier began to tremble. Lin Yu walked out of the room. Venerable Wuya turned around and was shocked again. Have you recovered from your injuries? Venerable Wuya looked at Lin Yu, who was glowing. He was not as weak as he was when he first came back. I'm fine, Lin Yu said casually, ignoring the shock in Venerable Wuya's heart. At this moment, he looked up at the sky. The wizardry barrier had begun to creak. Lin Yu, you're finally out. Patriarch Nangong saw Lin Yu first. The other patriarchs also attacked more viciously when they saw Lin Yu. For a moment, the guest hall building began to collapse under the collision of the two forces. Lin Yu is going to meet the six-winged divine king in a while. Who would have thought that the people in the prison would personally come to fetch me before the sun had even risen? Smiling faintly, Lin Yu didn't feel nervous at all. It was just that he did not expect that Qin Yi and the rest also came. At this moment, they had adjusted their auras to their strongest state and were ready to fight at any time. Bastard, don't use the six-winged divine king to pressure us. Today, even if the six-winged divine king comes personally, he won't be able to protect you. Lin Yu smirked. I don't think we need the six-winged divine king. He's enough. In the distant sky, a figure was tens of thousands of feet away. However, in the next moment, he arrived in the sky above the guest welcoming hall. The moment the barrier shattered, the person waved his hand and appeared in front of Lin Yu. He was even faster than the people from the four great clans. Do you think you can leave? The divine priest of light said coldly as he stared at Lin Yu. The divine priest of darkness was right. If he had come a little later, this kid might have escaped in the chaos. Divine priest, are you here to bring me to the celestial region? Lin Yu smiled faintly. That's right. The divine priest of light moved again and appeared in the sky with Lin Yu. Divine priest of light. Divine priest, Lin Yu killed our people. No one can leave today. The experts from the four great clans kept roaring, but the divine priest of light didn't care. What he wanted to do now was to bring Lin Yu to the celestial region. Follow me. Don't play any tricks. With a wave of his hand, the divine priest of light's powerful cultivation turned into an invisible wall and suppressed them. The experts from the four great clans who were chasing after them had no choice but to dodge the wall. Damn it! Divine priest of light, we'll remember this. Old Ancestor Donghuang and Old Ancestor Nangong were furious to the extreme, and so were the experts from the other two clans. After knowing that Lin Yu was the murderer of their sequence, the four great clans had already taken action to deal with Lin Yu. They were worried that someone would stop them, but they didn't expect that Lin Yu was still rescued. Captain, not only were the people from the four great clans angry, but Qin Yi and the others were even more worried about Lin Yu. They didn't have time to discuss the celestial region with Lin Yu, but Qin Yi could vaguely feel that the expert who appeared in the 10-square world was related to the celestial region. Because the 10-square world was under the control of the six-winged divine king. The appearance of that expert must have been allowed by the divine king. Then, Lin Yu defeated the expert who appeared in the 10-square world. Now that Lin Yu went to the celestial region, it was likely that he would be in danger. What should we do? Kill our way to the celestial region? Yama and Lin Yuan said one after another. What is a group of juniors doing? Venerable Wuya snorted coldly, interrupting the thoughts of these people. He looked at Lin Yuan and frowned. The light divine priest took Lin Yu away so anxiously. There must be other reasons, it seems. Lin Yu going to the celestial region was not a good thing. If you want to save Lin Yu, tell me everything about the 10-square world. At the same time, Lin Yu and the light divine priest were heading to the celestial region at an extremely fast speed. The phoenix that escorted the celestial region also flapped its wings at this moment, covering the sky and the sun, causing the celestial region to fall into darkness. The wind and thunder gods appeared on top of the phoenix, frowning. It was the first time they saw the light divine priest so nervous. It seems that there will be a good show to watch in the celestial region. Lin Yu, that kid is a bit interesting. He can actually make the light divine priest personally rescue him from the hands of the 4 great clans. In my opinion, he is afraid that Lin Yu will take advantage of the chaos to run away. At that time, he will not be able to explain himself. Hey, where did the dark divine priests go? Who knows, when did these 2 high and mighty light divine priests ever put you and me in their eyes? The wind and thunder gods' words revealed their dissatisfaction with the light divine priest. And in a higher position, 2 figures were already very close to the celestial region. Lin Yu was thinking about how to leave. If necessary, he could use Bai Xiaoli's power to escape. But at the same time, he was curious how powerful the 6-winged divine king's body was. Kid, don't do anything stupid. If you go against the 6-winged divine king now, only death will await you. Then I won't go, I'll leave it to you. Lin Yu smiled faintly. But before Bai Xiaoli could occupy Lin Yu's body, a figure suddenly appeared in the sky. The figure emitted endless demonic energy, looking down, his cold eyes locked onto Lin Yu and the light divine priest. Who is it? As the light divine priest spoke, he had already unleashed his power to attack the intruder. Because he felt a murderous aura stronger than his. I only want Lin Yu. If you don't want to die, scram. When the black aura demon's cold voice sounded, the light divine priest was enraged. No one had ever dared to speak to him in such a manner. You are courting death. The light divine priest struck out with his palm, but the black aura demon also struck out with his finger. With this finger, thunder and lightning roared in the sky. Hundreds of thousands of lightning bolts formed a finger and pointed at the light divine priest. Chapter 852. What? The divine priest of light's pupils dilated. At this moment, he felt the threat of death. Intruder! So powerful! Rumble! The thunderbolt that seemed to be able to support the heavens and earth touched the divine priest of light's palm energy. In an instant, the palm energy dissipated and the divine priest of light spat out a mouthful of blood. He was a powerhouse ranked 12th on the celestial god list, but at this moment, he was defeated in a single move. His opponent must be an expert in the top 10 of the celestial god list. Go! The divine priest of light was injured and wanted to take Lin Yu away. However, the next moment, the black gas had already appeared in front of the divine priest of light. At this moment, both the divine priest of light and Lin Yu saw who it was. 2 horns on his head. Green-faced fang beast. Vertical pupils in both eyes. This was a demon god. You are the heavenly demon king of the devil cult. The divine priest of light's voice was hoarse. The 4th on the heavenly god list, the heavenly demon king. It was actually him. But just as the divine priest of light was feeling timid, the heavenly demon king raised his finger again. The divine priest of light had no time to take Lin Yu away. His body burned at an unprecedented speed and instantly disappeared within 1,000 feet. When he reappeared, he was already so far away that the naked eye could not see him clearly. As for the Heaven Demon King, he grabbed Lin Yu with one hand and headed towards the bottom of the primitive continent. The Heaven Domain was getting further and further away. Damn it! Damn it! The Divine Priest of Light did not dare to continue the chase. He could only watch as Lin Yu was taken away. This was the first time he had fought in such an aggrieved manner. Why did the Heavenly Demon King of the Devil Sect come to kidnap Lin Yu? The Divine Priest of Light did not think too much about it. Since he was no match for the other party, he could only report this matter to the Six-Winged Divine King as soon as possible. As time passed, more unforeseen events might occur. Was there a battle up there? The gods of wind and thunder were already close to where the Divine Priest of Light was. They had also sensed the powerful ripples of battle. However, just as they were about to catch up, they saw the Divine Priest of Light heading towards the heaven region at an even faster speed. "Wait, priestess!" The gods of wind and thunder kept shouting, but the Divine Priest of Light didn't even turn his head. Right now, he was more anxious than anyone. After the people from the Qin Yun realm streaked across the sky, Venerable Wuya's figure also appeared. The fluctuations of battle. After he understood what had happened, he already knew that the people who appeared in 10 Square World were most likely related to Tianyu. Lin Yu's trip to the Heaven Domain this time bodes ill rather than well. Therefore, Venerable Wuya decided to follow and head to the Heaven region with Lin Yu. Even though he wasn't the Six-Winged Divine King's match, with his status as one of Realm C's 7 great venerables, he still had some use no matter what. It was just that Venerable Wuya had not expected to see a scene that would shock even him. The Divine Priest of Light returned empty-handed. Who did it? Venerable Wuya quietly followed. Meanwhile, in a forest thousands of miles away from here, Lin Yu and the Shadow reappeared. The Shadow put down Lin Yu, and the latter asked first, "Are you the Heavenly Demon King of the demonic sect?" He remembered that this was what the Divine Priest of Light had said. Lin Yu had also learned from Qin Yi's intelligence that the Heaven Fiend King was the sect master of the Fiend region, one of the 3 realms and 5 regions. "You can go." The Heaven Fiend King didn't say anything else, and Lin Yu couldn't even see his face clearly. "Why did you save me?" Boring. So bored to the point of offending the Heaven region? The sect master of the Devil region shouldn't be such a busybody. "What? You escaped from the hands of the Divine Priest of Light, aren't you going to escape now?" The Heaven Fiend King said coldly. However, Lin Yu smiled faintly. "How do you know that I alone won't be able to escape from his hands?" The Heaven Fiend King looked at Lin Yu in surprise. However, the shock that Lin Yu gave him was far from limited to this. Lin Yu said again, "I'm just curious, the dignified Heaven Fiend King of the demonic sect is actually willing to become the Dark Divine Priest of the Heaven region?" When these words came out, even with the Heaven Fiend King's temperament, he was still extremely shocked. "Or, should I call you the Dark Divine Priest, and then ask clearly, why did you save me and why did you pretend to be the Heaven Fiend King?" Lin Yu spread out his hands, looking calm and relaxed, as if he had seen through everything. The Dark Divine Priest couldn't help but laugh. Then, he dispersed the black gas that lingered around his body and faced Lin Yu head-on. "No wonder you're number 1 on the sequence list. You're really powerful. I believe that even the Divine Priest of Light can't detect my identity, but I can't hide it from you." The Dark Divine Priest's gaze fell on Lin Yu, not only with the appreciation of a senior for a junior. "Can you tell me how you saw through me?" Lin Yu felt more respect for the Dark Divine Priest. Why would this top expert, who was number 7 on the Divine Priest of Light, respect him? "It's just a feeling," Lin Yu answered casually. In fact, this was the second time the system had met the Dark Divine Priest, so it could naturally identify him. What I'm more curious about is, why did you save me? Lin Yu said again. The dark priest had a kind smile on his face. He looked young, but that was because his cultivation level was too high. An existence like the Dark Divine Priest had existed in the Qingyun region for too long. Because you're the only one who can change this universe. The Dark Divine Priest's gaze suddenly deepened. He looked at Lin Yu and wanted to bow deeply. But he knew that Lin Yu still couldn't remember what had happened in the past. Thinking of this, the Dark Divine Priest could only endure and continue speaking in a senior's tone. Do you know that this world isn't the only universe? Outside this vast universe, there are 11 other universes that are as big as the 3 realms and 5 regions. There are a total of 12 universes. Lin Yu didn't say anything. Although he had heard this from Bai Xiaoli once, it didn't stop him from absorbing the Dark Divine Priest's knowledge again. There are 12 universes, but there are only 11 divine state experts. As a result, our 12th universe has always been the weakest and could be swallowed up at any time. A million years ago, after the last divine king, the only divine state expert in the 12 universes, died. No divine king appeared in our 12th universe for a million years. Lin Yu was a little surprised. Divine king? What kind of realm was that? If the 6-winged divine king wasn't a divine king, then what was he? Chapter 853. The previous divine king was the only one in the divine king realm. Only a divine king can be called the overgod of the 12 universes. The dark priest's eyes were filled with respect as he bowed to the sky. After the 10,000 spirit realm, the spirit king realm, the emperor realm, and the saint realm is the divine king realm. The dark priest seemed to be explaining to Lin Yu. He explained patiently, "You've seen the spirit king realm experts. I'm also in the spirit king realm. As for the emperor realm, it's countless times stronger than the spirit king realm. There are only a few emperor realm experts in the 3 realms and 5 domains. Among the emperor realm experts, the heavenly demon king of the demonic sect, the Haotian emperor of the Dongxing Taoist sect, and the master of the world sea. Above the emperor realm is the saint realm, the realm closest to the divine king realm. The saint realm experts are the strongest in the 3 realms and 5 domains. They're also the strongest on the god ranking and demon god ranking. The current number 1 on the god ranking, the 6-winged divine king, is an expert at the peak of the saint realm. There's also the sea god dragon Regana and Lord Heavenly Phoenix on the demon god ranking, the origin monster Archaeosaurus on the primitive continent, and the Di-Ting ancestral beast that supports the entire ghost realm. These are the only saint realm experts I know." The dark priest spoke without holding back. At the same time, he hesitated and looked at Lin Yu. "There's another person who used to be a saint realm expert. He's the 3rd on the god ranking and one of the few black-winged geniuses in the Qingyun realm in the past thousands of years." Seeing that Lin Yu did not respond, the dark priest continued, "The 6-winged divine king is extremely close to the divine king realm, but if he wants to step into the divine king realm, according to the method left behind by the old divine king, he must sacrifice a large number of lives and even borrow the power of the ancient demon kings of the 10 sacred lands to step into the divine king realm. If the 6-winged divine king really attacks, many people will die." The dark priest looked at Lin Yu. Seeing that he was still unmoved, he nodded with relief. It seemed that he was indeed different. The 10 square realms abnormality should be caused by the 6-winged divine king, right? The dark priest asked tentatively. Lin Yu smiled. "It seems that you all know. There are many smart people, but smart people often like to play dumb." The dark priest shook his head helplessly. "It seems that the divine king can't wait any longer. In order to step into the new realm and become a true divine king, he is willing to sacrifice anyone, including his younger brother." Lin Yu frowned for the first time after the dark priest finished speaking. Little brother. Lin Yu remembered the strange words the six-winged deity king said to him when his consciousness descended on the 10-square world. For some reason, Lin Yu clenched his fists when he heard this. Who is it? The dark priest's expression suddenly changed, and he struck a palm towards the dark forest on their right. In an instant, hundreds of trees in the forest were destroyed and turned into ashes. And behind one of the trees, the figure of Venerable Wuya could be seen. Although he had come here, he did not dare to rashly approach. Instead, he hid far away and looked for an opportunity to save Lin Yu. But he did not expect the other party to be so observant. At this moment, Venerable Wuya's hands were in front of him, blocking the dark priest's palm. However, his body could not help but retreat several steps. Venerable Wuya's expression was serious. This person was so strong. He stepped on the large rock behind him. Using his own special technique, he transferred the dark priest's strength from his arms to the rock. At the same time that Venerable Wuya's attack was neutralized, not only was the large boulder behind him, even the small mountain behind the boulder was covered in dense cracks. If such a powerful force were to hit a body, it would have been torn apart no matter how strong it was. Spirit King Realm. The dark priest's fingers formed a claw, and a suction force erupted, locking onto Venerable Wuya. When the other party came closer, he saw that it was actually Venerable Wuya, ranked 30th on the God ranking. Since you heard something you shouldn't have, then die. The dark priest's killing intent surged, but in the next moment, a figure blocked Venerable Wuya. He won't say a word. Lin Yu's calm voice sounded, and he looked at the dark priest with determination. The latter also looked at him in surprise. You want to protect him? He brought me to the sequence battle. Without him, I wouldn't be standing here. Lin Yu clearly distinguished between kindness and hatred. If Venerable Wuya did not bring him, he would not have been able to merge with Bai Xiaoli. In other words, he had given him a great opportunity. Lin Yu, be careful. This person is very strong. Venerable Wuya could not recognize him. He only saw a ball of demonic energy surging around the dark priest, blocking his appearance. Venerable Wuya looked at Lin Yu blocking in front of him, and his heart was moved. For so many years, the younger generation of the Boundless Sea only wanted to curry favor with him so that he could promote them. However, Lin Yu was the first to protect Venerable Wuya. It's fine. Venerable, help me with something. When Lin Yu saw that the dark priest had stopped, he knew that the dark priest wasn't an unreasonable person. Furthermore, Lin Yu felt a sense of familiarity with him. Help me tell Qin Yi and the others that I'm here. But Venerable Wuya was afraid that if he left, Lin Yu would be killed by this expert in front of him. If he wanted to make a move, he would have done so long ago. Lin Yu knew the other party's concerns and casually explained. After listening, Venerable Wuya also understood. Then be careful, kid. Lin Yu did things with a sense of propriety. Since he asked him to leave, Venerable Wuya believed that Lin Yu had the confidence to protect himself. Thus, he nodded and turned to leave. Only the dark priest and Lin Yu were left. The former continued, I can save you once, but I don't have the confidence to save you a second time. If the six-winged Divine King personally makes a move, even I understand. Lin Yu did not wait for him to finish and asked, but I don't believe that he is an invincible existence in the 3 realms and 5 regions. The world is vast, and there will be a place for me to stay. The dark priest smiled. That's right. There are 3 existences. I can't say that they can completely resist the 6-winged Divine King, but they can at least protect your life. Who? Lord Heavenly Phoenix, number 1 on the Demon God list. The other black-winged Divine King from back then, and the Vairocana Buddha from the primitive continent. Chapter 854. The number 1 on the Demon God list, Sky Phoenix. Vairocana Buddha. Black-winged Divine King. Lin Yu felt that these three names were both unfamiliar and familiar. Seeing that Lin Yu was deep in thought, the Dark Priest continued, "It's a pity that Sky Phoenix has been imprisoned by the six-winged Divine King. He trusted the wrong person and thought that beasts and humans could coexist peacefully. Who knew that Lord Sky Phoenix, who symbolized the strongest combat power on the Demon God list, would also be tricked?" The Dark Priest couldn't help but sigh. Fortunately, the number 2 on the Demon God list, Sea God Dragon, and the number 3 Archaeosaurus have been hiding for 100 years. They didn't show up, which gave the six-winged Divine King some fear. As for the number 3 on the Demon God list, Black-winged Divine King, the Dark Priest looked at Lin Yu. "I'm afraid he's not as strong as before. It's not realistic to rely on him to deal with the six-winged Divine King." He seemed to be talking about Lin Yu. The Dark Priest seemed to be implying something, but Lin Yu didn't care. Black-winged Divine King had nothing to do with him. Soon, the Dark Priest mentioned the third person. "Rumor has it that the Vairocana Buddha has lived for as long as the 12th universe. His cultivation has reached an immeasurable level. He might even be stronger than the six-winged Divine King. However, like the Sea God and Archaeosaurus, the Vairocana Buddha has lived in seclusion for a long time. However, he's the only helper you can find." The Dark Priest's goal was clear. If Lin Yu wanted to protect himself, he had to rely on the Vairocana Buddha. "The six-winged Divine King wants to see you. I'm sure you know the reason." The Dark Priest patted Lin Yu's shoulder. "The Vairocana Buddha is a friend of the previous Divine King. After the previous Divine King died, he disappeared and didn't ask about the matters of the 3 realms and 5 regions. Therefore, it might be difficult for you to find him. The first step is to go through the territories guarded by the 4 great families." The 4 great families again. Lin Yu rubbed his forehead and smiled helplessly. He had just escaped from the hands of the 4 great clans, and he would probably have to go back in the future. Seeing Lin Yu's worry, the Dark Priest comforted him. "You have a natural advantage. You don't have to worry about being recognized." Lin Yu looked over and heard the Dark Priest continue, "Your cultivation can be naturally hidden. Perhaps you don't know the reason." He looked into the distance with deep meaning, and a look of reminiscence appeared on his face. A long time ago, a genius appeared in the heaven region. He was hailed as an existence that could surpass the old Divine King, and with his monstrous talent, he created a cultivation method. This cultivation method fuses the body, cultivation, and divine sense into one, breaking through the shackles of cultivators only being able to cultivate one of them. This cultivation method is known as a taboo and has been passed down for thousands of years. However, only a handful of people have successfully cultivated it. This is because the chakra diagram of this cultivation method is extremely strange. It requires the power of the stars to fuse with the meridians of the human body. One person is a universe. The Dark Priest continued, "Such a genius was destroyed because of his kindness. The throne that should have belonged to him was taken away, and those who supported him were all imprisoned in the eternal purgatory. There were also some who supported him in their hearts and looked forward to the day when he returned as the Divine King, but before that, they could only be regarded as traitors and be despised." After saying this, Lin Yu could see the Dark Priest's angry expression. Such an expert had actually lost his composure because of that genius. The next moment, the Dark Priest looked at Lin Yu. "Do you understand? These people who pretended to surrender didn't really betray us, but they needed to survive. They needed to endure and accumulate their strength. They were imprisoned and suffered in the purgatory. They lived in torment every day, but they were also loyal. The difference was that they used their own methods to pledge their loyalty to the young Divine King." Lin Yu's heart tightened. The Dark Priest's words made him nervous. It was as if he was talking to him. But he wasn't talking to him. This strange feeling made Lin Yu feel uneasy, which was very rare. His voice was a little hoarse, as if these words had traveled through thousands of years to reach the dark priest's ears. I understand. I understand. These 3 simple words caused tears to well up in the eyes of the dark priest. Chapter 855. Thank you. The dark priest looked at Lin Yu with sincerity and slowly uttered these 2 words. He didn't seem to want to give up. Then, he said thoughtfully, other than the 6-winged Divine King, the second black-winged Divine King from 1,000,000 years ago was the strongest existence. His elder brother, the 6-winged Divine King, was afraid of him. The old Divine King even said that he would leave behind an inheritance after his death. Only the black-winged Divine King could inherit that inheritance. Lin Yu's expression didn't change at all. The dark Divine Priest continued, I don't know where the inheritance is, but I'm sure that the inheritance still exists. Otherwise, if the 6-winged Divine King obtained the inheritance, he would be able to step into the Divine King realm. There would be no need to mobilize so many people. He tried too hard, but he couldn't step into the Divine King realm. That's why the 10-direction world happened. Lin Yu asked, if the 6-winged Divine King knew that only the black-winged Divine King could inherit the inheritance, wouldn't he be jealous? The dark priest nodded. Of course he would be jealous. He was so jealous that he lost all rationality. If not, how could he have killed the old Divine King and his younger brother? The dark high priest gritted his teeth. Even the Vairocana Buddha had high hopes for the black-winged Divine King. That young Divine King carried the hopes of countless people and was the only hope of the old Divine King. It's a pity that the 6-winged Divine King, he had so much power? Lin Yu didn't understand. If the young Divine King was protected by so many people and grew up under the old Divine King's wings, how did the 6-winged Divine King kill him? He didn't, but someone outside the 12 universes did. I remember that the sword from beyond the heavens pierced the old Divine King's body. The dark priest paused and looked at Lin Yu. Lin Yu was still as calm as ever. He knew that he couldn't act rashly. Captain. Soon, news of Qin Yi and Bai Jiu's arrival came from afar. Other than the 10-direction world team, Nangong Yu also came. Nangong Yu obediently followed Qin Yi and the female king of hell. The intelligent Qin Yi seemed to have noticed some clues. She knew that the relationship between Lin Yu and Nangong Yu was not simple. Regarding this, she could only smile knowingly. After all, Lin Yu was too outstanding. Even if such a man did not flirt, women would still be unconsciously attracted to him. If you want to go against the 6-winged Divine King, you have to protect yourself first. The great solar boundless Buddha Lord is the best choice. However, before that, you have to head to the core region of the primitive continent. The dark priest didn't seem to want others to know that he had made a move. He bowed deeply to Lin Yu. With his back to everyone, his figure dissipated. Seeing this, Lin Yu didn't know what the other party's intentions were, but since the other party had helped him, he returned the gesture with a fist salute. Qin Yi and the others arrived, but they were surprised to see the dark priest leave. But seeing that Lin Yu was fine was the most important thing, and Lin Yu didn't take the initiative to say too much. He only told Venerable Wuya that he would be heading to the core region of the primitive continent. In fact, the place where they were now was also within the primitive continent. It was just a place at the edge of the Sequence Emperor City. And the primitive continent was so big that it was many times larger than the Sky Desert universe. It was called a continent. In reality, it was a vast universe. After Lin Yu told them where he was going to go next, Venerable Wuya's face revealed a hint of loneliness. If Lin Yu stayed in the boundless sea, it would naturally be the best thing. However, this was only good for the boundless sea. Venerable Wuya knew that Lin Yu's goal was far from the boundless sea, so he was destined to leave. A small pond couldn't keep a flood dragon. And Lin Yu's talent was already destined when he became the #1 on the sequence ranking, when he slaughtered everyone in the 10-direction world. Do you need me to go with you? He didn't object to Lin Yu venturing into a bigger world. But Venerable Wu Yao was still a little worried. But Lin Yu shook his head. He knew that Venerable Wu Yao's identity was special. If he followed him, he might attract more attention. And the boundless sea couldn't be without a master. Lin Yu naturally couldn't be too selfish and let Venerable Wu Yao be his protector. Lin Yu already has confidence on this trip, so I don't need to trouble Venerable Wu Yao to accompany me. Lin Yu clasped his fists, showing his respect to this senior expert. From the time he left the boundless sea to the primitive continent, Venerable Wu Yao was his protector. Fine. Venerable Wu Yao's eyes were still a little disappointed, but he understood that as an expert, he was destined to go to different domains, different battlefields to find his own direction. He couldn't bind Lin Yu to the boundless sea. Then be careful. Oh right, the sea god's item. Venerable Wu Yao looked at the others. Forget it, these people were also Lin Yu's companions. There was nothing to hide. You have to take good care of it. When necessary, it's your life-saving talisman. Venerable Wu Yao couldn't help but remind. He looked worried about Lin Yu. Understood. Lin Yu clasped his fists again. Seeing this, Venerable Wu Yao didn't stay any longer, but he still reminded, if you want to go to the core of the primitive continent, you have to go through the 4 great families. Those old guys have a grudge against you, so you have to be careful before you go. It's best if you can cover for them. And recently, because the Nangong family is about to hold the once-in-a-century alchemy conference, there might be more people going to the 4 great families' main cities. Lin Yu nodded and asked another question out of curiosity. After all, he had left the sequencer city for more than 4 hours. Now that the 4 great families knew that he had been brought to the heavenly region, they wouldn't chase after him for the time being. They would continue to do what they usually did, such as the alchemy conference. I heard that the alchemy conference will be held as scheduled, but the purpose is a little different. Venerable Wu Yao couldn't help but pat Lin Yu's shoulder. The latter was confused. It's all because of Nangong Tian. You destroyed his cultivation, but Nangong Tian is the #1 genius of the Nangong family. The Nangong family will definitely use the resources of the alchemy conference to help him recover his cultivation. Venerable Wu Yao sighed. If it weren't for the fact that the boundless sea is just a barren land, I might be able to hold an alchemy conference for you. Lin Yu, I appreciate it, but if Nangong Tian wants to recover his cultivation, he has to ask me. Lin Yu smiled faintly, but Venerable Wu Yao seemed to be able to foresee Nangong Tian's tragic future. He obviously remembered that Nangong Tian had brought the people of the 4 great families last night to accuse Lin Yu of being the murderer of the sequencer of the primitive continent. Lin Yu would definitely not let that kid off, given his vengeful personality. As for the other grudges, the Nangong family, Nangong Yu, and Nangong Ming, it might also be the fuse that would lead to the conflict between Lin Yu and the Nangong family in the future. Seems like you'll be stirring up some big trouble during this trip, Venerable Wu Yao said with a smile. Venerable Wu Yao said with a smile, his eyes filled with admiration. That's good as well. If we cultivators live mediocre lives, we might as well just die. If we can make some big moves, we'll be able to make this world remember us. Chapter 856. Agreed. Lin Yu smiled and only said 2 words. The two couldn't help but look at each other. Seemingly understanding each other's thoughts, Venerable Wu Yao also left. Only the 10-direction worlds team was left. Qin Yi came forward and stood with Nangong Yu on Lin Yu's left and right. Are we going to the primitive continent's core area? Qin Yi asked obediently. Nangong Yu's eyes were filled with worry. Brother Lin Yu, if it's because of me, let's not go. She was worried that Lin Yu wanted to avenge her, but it was too risky. Lin Yu had already taken a risk for her yesterday, so Nangong Yu was still worried. We have to go, but we can't just go like this. Lin Yu smiled helplessly. This time, he caused too much of a commotion in the sequencing Emperor City. So much so that his face and name were destined to become a big problem for the four great families. Even now, the news they received was that Lin Yu was brought to the heaven region. Lin Yu concluded that with the light divine priest's pride, he was scared off by the dark divine priest who pretended to be the heavenly demon king, and even lost Lin Yu. The light divine priest wouldn't reveal this matter so quickly. Otherwise, where would he put his face? Before we go, I need to change my face. After Lin Yu finished speaking, he pressed a few acupoints on his face. He had tried the same trick in Zhang Qingshue's room when he was in the vast Moon Dynasty. At that time, Lin Yu was even more ridiculous. He directly turned into a woman and changed his name to Lin Xian. He even attracted the attention of a LSP. This time, Lin Yu didn't need to be so ridiculous. He directly changed his face. From now on, I'll be called Qin Wunyan. Lin Yu glanced at Qinyi. She also had the surname Qin. From now on, we'll call each other brother and sister. At this point, Qinyi stuck out her tongue as if she was protesting. Wouldn't that mean that she would have to keep a distance from Lin Yu in the future? If she kept her distance, then Nangong Yu, what's wrong, little sister? Lin Yu smiled casually. Qinyi glared at him. It's okay, big brother. When Nangong Yu saw Lin Yu's new appearance, she couldn't help but laugh. At this moment, Lin Yu looked at the others. I don't need it. No one knows me. Yama was a little reluctant. She could see that Lin Yu was going to disguise them. I can represent the people of the demon realm, so, as soon as Baiju finished speaking, Lin Yu's gaze was already on him. No, we have to change our appearances. Everyone has to change their appearances. Otherwise, it's easy to screw up. Lin Yu was well aware of the danger of this trip. Once they were discovered by a family, they would face the joint attack of the four major families. In a situation where there was no conflict of interest and only hatred, the people of the four major families would definitely come to deal with Lin Yu. What Lin Yu had to do now was to create benefits while hiding his identity. As long as he was linked to the interests of one or two of the families, then Lin Yu would have a backer. The people of the other families would not be so unscrupulous if they wanted to touch him. Seeing how determined Lin Yu was, the others had no choice but to give up resistance. They allowed Lin Yu to do something to their faces. The female king of hell became even sexier. Baiju became more feminine. And Lin Yuan had a few more beards and his whole person became rougher. I don't want it, damn it, bastard! Lin Xiu roared in anger. Because Lin Yu was doing something to his hair. Among them, only Lin Xiu had white hair. This kind of hair color was too eye-catching. Don't worry, this kind of purple is very beautiful. Lin Yu did not care about that and used his special hair dye on Lin Xiu's head. In the blink of an eye, Lin Xiu's hair color had changed. Purple and Lin Xiu's devilish eyes. Also, his appearance had changed and was no longer similar to Lin Yu's face. It made Lin Xiu feel that his sexual orientation was unclear. He was even more feminine than Baiju. Damn it, change back for me. Lin Xiu was angry, but Lin Yu immediately gave the three women a look. It's pretty good. Yes, it's much better than your previous hair color. I didn't expect you to be even more handsome than Captain. Qinyi, Nangong Yu, and Yama said one after another. Lin Xiu calmed down after hearing the comfort of the three women. He reluctantly accepted his current appearance. But he secretly swore in his heart that this was the first time he did it for Lin Yu and also the last time. Everyone changed their appearances and headed to the core area of the four major families. The primitive continent is too big, it will probably take a few more days. And because of the alchemy convention, many experts should be rushing there. Baiju said to Lin Yu. He was from the primitive continent and knew some things. Don't you need to go back to the Devil Domain to report about the sequence battle? No, I have absolute freedom in the Devil Domain, unlike the 4 major families who are very feudal. Baijiu said in disdain. Lin Yu seemed to have sensed that there were many differences between the 3 realms and 5 regions. This time, I reckon that the previous sequence battle will also appear. The previous sequence battle? Lin Yu did not understand. Baijiu opened his eyes wide. You don't think that the sequence battle has only been held once, right? I thought so. Lin Yu replied casually. He had just arrived, how would he know? Baijiu had a helpless look on his face. Even if Yama and the others were from this world, it seemed that because they came from the Realm Sea, they were not well informed. Naturally, they also came over. Seeing this, Baijiu realized that he was leading a group of pure newbies. He panicked a little. Cough, since that's the case, let me give you a lesson. The sequence battle has been held 9 times. Captain, which is our batch, is the 9th. Before this, there were 8 sequence battles. And in those 8 sequence battles, there were also many experts. For example, the number 1 of the 5th sequence battle was Rain God of the Heaven region and Cloud God of the 6th sequence battle. These 2 people are rumored to have the strength to step into the Spirit King realm, but they have been suppressing it and are unwilling to break through. I don't know the specific reason. As for the sequence battles above the 6th sequence battle, many of them have already stepped into the Spirit King realm or have fallen in the changing of eras. Baijiu sighed and said solemnly, our main opponents should be the sequence battles from the 7th sequence battle. These people are still on the sequence battle and are also experts below the Spirit King realm. Most of the Spirit King realm experts have been included in the Heavenly God ranking by the 6-winged Divine King. Of course, there are exceptions. However, the experts on the Heavenly God ranking will not easily make a move. Once they make a move, it might attract the attention of other experts on the Heavenly God ranking. Therefore, the higher the position of the expert, the more careful they are. Chapter 857. As for the 7th batch, there are a few powerful characters. They are all at the peak of the 10,000 spirit realm, and can even step into the Spirit King realm at any time. These people are stronger than the ones we met before. Baijiu thought for a while and said a few names. The first place of the 7th batch is Taoist Lingbao from the Dongxing sect. The second place is Taoist Taishang from the Dongxing sect. These 2 people are good at alchemy. The people from the Dongxing sect always pretend to be righteous, but they do a lot of dirty things. We have to be careful if we meet them. Everyone remembered these 2 names, and White 9 continued. As for the 8th ranking, the first place is the Ghost Queen of the Ghost Realm, Mo Qianqian. That woman is extremely good at dealing with men, and many men have fallen under her charms. Back then, my master almost lost his life in her hand. Rumor has it that Mo Qianqian is also at the peak of the Myriad Soul realm, but she hasn't reached the Spirit King realm. Hearing this, the 3 girls couldn't help feeling embarrassed. As for the second place, it is Subhuti from the Dongxing sect. He is the backbone of the Dongxing sect, and is even stronger than the 4 great families. The third place is Yuja Kitami, the beloved daughter of the Beima family's patriarch, Beima Bing. It is said that Yuja Kitami is good at alchemy. If she wasn't obsessed with alchemy, she wouldn't lose to Nangong Tian. Unfortunately, the Nangong family is stronger than the Beima family, which seems to have hindered Yuja Kitami's growth. The fourth place. Baijiu harumphed coldly. It's the Ghost Lady. Her younger sister, the Ghost Fairy, is the one who attacked us in the 10 Directions world. Everyone naturally understood the final result. Ghost Fairy was killed by Baijiu. If Ghost Lady knew about this, she might even take revenge for her sister when they met her. As for the others, some of them are already dead. Baijiu seemed to have said everything he knew. Lin Yu, Qin Yi, and the others quickly remembered the names and characteristics of these people. It should still be a few days' journey. What's that in front of us? Yama asked as her eyes lit up. What's that? Waves of battle could be felt. As the crowd got closer, they saw an expert in Taoist robes waving his hand, and a huge mountain appeared between his eyebrows. There were eyes in the mountain, and when they opened, it was like a mountain monster. A man and a mountain, they are immortals. Those below immortals are all ants. With a flip of his hand, a huge mountain came crashing down. In front of him was a woman. The woman's face was deathly pale. Clearly, she had suffered some injuries. At this moment, when she faced the huge mountain, her pretty face became a lot more solemn. So what if you have a heaven-grade 10,000 souls seal? The woman gritted her teeth, and a ray of light also erupted from between her eyebrows. The multicolored light condensed into a 5-colored phoenix and charged directly towards the mountain. Brother, should we help her? Qin Yi felt that the Taoist was extremely hateful. She asked Lin Yu. What's there to help? Lin Yu couldn't be bothered with these personal grudges. However, Baiju reminded him. If I'm not wrong, this woman should be from the Beima family. After hearing that, Lin Yu raised his eyebrows. He was worried that he couldn't find a reason to sneak into the alchemy conference. Does she have a high status in the Beima family? Baiju nodded. Yes, she is the one I just mentioned. She's 3rd place on the 8th sequence ranking, the beloved daughter of the Beima family's patriarch, Beima Bing Yuja Kitami. That's a good choice. Lin Yu smiled faintly. His expression already let Qin Yi and the others know that Lin Yu would help. Yuja Kitami, a mere 5-colored phoenix and an Earth-grade 10,000 soul seal, are like throwing an egg against a rock. This poor Taoist advises you to obediently hand over the reverse marrow reincarnation pill recipe. Otherwise, this poor Taoist will not be polite. The Taoist snorted coldly. When he saw that Yuja Kitami had no intention of surrendering, his killing intent rose. The mountain demon 10,000 soul seal collided with the 5-colored phoenix. The tyrannical impact formed ripples in mid-air. Yuja Kitami spat out a big mouthful of blood and staggered back. Rumor has it that Yuja Kitami is still a virgin. Today, this poor Taoist not only wants the recipe, but also wants to verify your identity. The Taoist laughed. Baiju revealed the other party's identity in front of Lin Yu at the same time. This person is the 2nd place on the 7th sequence ranking, Taoist Taishang. Dong Xing Taoist? Yes, that group of old Taoists are usually righteous. I didn't expect them to bully people here. Stop him. Lin Yu ordered. In an instant, Qin Yi, Baiju, Lin Yuan, Lin Xiu, and Yama, the 5 of them attacked at the same time. Who are you people? 4 10,000 soul realm experts, and a half-step 10,000 soul realm expert. Taoist Taishang didn't expect to be surrounded by these people. We are from the Loki sect. Qin Yi said coldly and took the lead. You are courting death. What Loki sect? I have never heard of it. This poor Taoist is the left elder of Dong Xing Taoist. But before Taoist Taishang finished speaking, everyone had already attacked. He didn't have time to speak and braced himself to resist. Seeing this, Yuja Kitami took advantage of the chaos to escape. She fell into the dense forest below and moved forward quickly. But her path was quickly blocked by a young man. Get out of the way! Yuja Kitami thought that Lin Yu had also come out to snatch her things. With a palm strike, the tyrannical air flow directly shattered the trees around Lin Yu. She originally thought that she could repel Lin Yu, but Lin Yu just casually moved and dodged this palm strike. Just as this palm swept past Lin Yu, Yuja Kitami's arm was suddenly grabbed by Lin Yu. That incomparably strong hand's strength suddenly clasped her arm, causing Yuja Kitami to be shocked. This person was actually a myriad spirit realm combat cultivator. She wanted to struggle, but her arm couldn't exert any strength at all. She was directly thrown down by Lin Yu. My people will help you stop the enemy. Isn't it inappropriate for you to run away like this? Just as Lin Yu's voice fell, there was a bang, and Yuja Kitami was already smashed to the ground by him. Dust flew everywhere, and the trees were shattered. Lin Yu looked down at Yuja Kitami, who was slowly crawling up from the ground. She stared at Lin Yu. You. Who are you? Low-profile sect Qin Wunyan. Never heard of it. Yuja Kitami looked at Lin Yu warily. What do you want? It doesn't matter if you haven't heard of it. Soon, this name will shine in the alchemy conference. Lin Yu said confidently, but the premise is that I need the qualifications to participate in the alchemy conference. So I saved you. Without beating around the bush, Lin Yu directly stated his purpose. Hearing this, Yuja Kitami felt relieved. You want me to bring you to the alchemy conference? She looked at Taoist Grand Supreme, who was gradually retreating behind her. Then, she looked at Lin Yu and felt that the person in front of her was indeed quite capable. As for Lin Yu's purpose, Yuja Kitami was used to it. The 4 great clans were the strongest forces in the primitive continent, and the alchemy conference was a grand event held by the 4 great clans. Every time it was held, there would be people from small forces who would try to curry favor with the 4 great clans. They hoped to have the opportunity to enter the conference. Even if they could only get a low ranking, it would be enough for their small clans to improve for a period of time. That's all? That's all. Lin Yu nodded. Yuja Kitami thought to herself that if Lin Yu was capable, he would be a good helper. Deal. Chapter 858. Deal. Lin Yu smiled knowingly. It seemed that it was so comfortable to talk to smart people. And this Beima Yuer was clearly a smart woman. But even though they seemed to have reached a consensus now, Yuja Kitami's eyes were still a little hostile. Lin Yu knew. This woman was still wary of him. But this was normal. It didn't matter. Lin Yu was best at making women let down their guard against him. So, Lin Yu smiled slightly, glanced at Taoist Taishang, who had already escaped, and didn't chase after him. Seeing this, Yuja Kitami was a little angry. Your people could have made him stay. Why? I'll help you when our partnership deepens a little more. He didn't overdo it. He didn't give the other party a chance to be completely comfortable. This was one of Lin Yu's methods. Yuja Kitami originally thought that if Lin Yu's people could take down Taoist Taishang, then she could directly interrogate him to find out who had leaked her whereabouts. But now that Lin Yu had let him go, how was she going to interrogate him? Do you want to know why you were targeted by him? Lin Yu asked casually. Yuja Kitami's bright eyes trembled. You know? I don't know. Lin Yu shrugged, which made Yuja Kitami speechless. But since you and I are partners now, your business is naturally my business. If you were targeted, then I might be targeted in the future. Lin Yu's words made Yuja Kitami feel a little better. This might be the feeling of partners in the same boat. But the next moment, I don't want to be implicated by you, so you'd better tell me all your enemies once, then I can avoid them. Lin Yu's second sentence directly made Yuja Kitami want to die. There was something wrong with this man. He said that he was a good person, but he wasn't a good person. Although he was a bad person, he had helped her. Damn it. No one knows my whereabouts, and I don't have any enemies. I, Yuja Kitami, am an upright person. Then how did you get hunted down? Lin Yu interrupted the other party's words, not giving Beima Yuer a chance to calm down. Yuja Kitami blushed, unable to refute. How would I know? This time, I went to the Pill King's temple to ask for a pill manual. No one knows about this. Lin Yu smiled. You are the pearl in the palm of the Beima clan. How could no one know about your schedule? His words woke her up from her dream. Yuja Kitami was startled. Are you saying that someone in the family betrayed me? Her expression was solemn. Perhaps this was the only possibility. Yuja Kitami recalled that Taoist Taishang had ambushed her here in advance. If someone hadn't tipped him off, how would Taoist Taishang have known that she would pass by here? But if it was really as Lin Yu said, then she was in even greater trouble. Someone in the family wanted to plot against her. If she didn't find out who the other party was in time, she would definitely have worries in the alchemy conference and wouldn't be able to fight wholeheartedly. Who do you think could have betrayed me? Yuja Kitami didn't know why, but the man in front of her gave her the feeling that he knew everything. And when she subconsciously asked this question, she also knew that she had said the wrong thing. Forget it. You are just someone from a nameless small sect. How would you know about the 4 great clans? I also know a little about the 4 great clans. Lin Yu knew that if he continued to let Beimo Yu look down on him at this time, then in the future, their cooperation might be at a disadvantage. In Beimo Yu's eyes, her impression of him would only remain as a person from a small sect. Yuja Kitami wouldn't let him participate in many important decisions. Lin Yu didn't like this kind of cooperation. What do you know? Yuja Kitami didn't believe him. However, Lin Yu only smiled faintly and raised his eyebrows. The Nangong family has a motive for this alchemy conference, which is to help Nangong Tian recover from his injuries. This, Yuja Kitami was a little surprised by Lin Yu. Logically speaking, the big forces in the primitive mainland should have known about this. However, the people from the small sects wouldn't have known about it because the news came from the Sequencer City. Those small sects didn't have the right to enter the Sequencer City. I also know that Nangong Tian's injuries were caused by someone called Lin Yu, who also came in first place in the sequence battle. Lin Yu said again. Yuja Kitami's breathing quickened. Obviously, Lin Yu was right. As for your people, many of the people in the sequence of the 4 big families of the primitive mainland died in the hands of Lin Yu. Back then, the Laozu of the 4 big families probably already took action against Lin Yu. However, it seems like Lin Yu didn't fall into the hands of your Laozu. Am I right? Lin Yu looked at Yuja Kitami again and said, as if he had seen through her thoughts. At this moment, Beimo Yu's heart was in turmoil. This person didn't come from the low-profile sect. A small sect that she had never heard of? How could he be so well-informed? Lin Yu's departure from the Sequencer City and what happened there only happened 2 days ago. Even Beimo Yu had only just found out about this news. However, this person knew about it too. Moreover, he seemed to know about the details. Seeing this, Lin Yu knew that he had entered the other party's mind. I think the 4 big families each have their own agenda for this alchemy conference. The Nangong family obviously wants to help Nangong Tian. However, Nangong Tian used to be the top genius of the 4 big families. Now that half of him has died, the other 3 big families are definitely not willing to let him return to his peak. Moreover, many of the younger generation of the 3 big families died in the sequence battle. How could they allow Nangong Tian to recover? He would be the biggest threat to the 3 big families. As soon as he said that, Yuja Kitami couldn't stay calm anymore. However, Lin Yu still didn't give up. He took a step forward. He didn't need to go to the Beimo family personally to know the character of the Laozu family's Laozu. If I'm not wrong, the Beimo family attaches great importance to the alchemy conference this time. They even want you to succeed and stop Nangong Tian. Am I right? Every word went straight into Yuja Kitami's heart. She couldn't speak for a long time. Meanwhile, Lin Yu was already 3 feet away from her. It was as if she could hear Lin Yu's breathing. Yuja Kitami looked up and saw Lin Yu saying again, "Do you still think that I don't understand the 4 big families?" Yuja Kitami couldn't answer him. She didn't even have the strength to. "Alright, can you tell me what happened now?" Lin Yu crossed his arms in front of his chest. "If you're in trouble, you'll implicate me too. We're in the same boat now." Chapter 859. I just received a notification from Yunlei, my younger brother. He told me that there is a recipe for the reverse marrow reincarnation elixir in the Elixir King Temple. Reverse marrow reincarnation elixir? Lin Yu touched his chin. When he was in the Sky Desert universe, he had seen quite a number of recipes. And the recipes of this world were similar to the ones in the Sky Desert universe. When he was in the Boundless Ocean, he had already tried his alchemy skills for the first time. He reckoned that his alchemy skills had not decreased in this world. Grade 7 pill. If I can concoct it at the Grand Alchemy meeting, I will have a chance to win. Yuja Kitami's eyes were filled with determination. Clearly, Lin Yu could tell that she was determined to win the Grand Alchemy meeting and the reverse marrow reincarnation elixir. Having determination was a good thing. If Yuja Kitami was motivated, Lin Yu would have a higher chance of finding traces of the Great Sun Boundless Buddha. He was most afraid of meeting partners who did not want to improve themselves. That was his biggest headache. Where is the Elixir King Temple? Lin Yu asked casually. Yuja Kitami raised her eyebrows. Didn't you say that you know everything? You even know about the secrets of the 4 big families. Why are you asking me about a mere Elixir King Temple? I only know about big shots and big families. As for the small stuff, I still need you to tell me. As though he had guessed Yuja Kitami's thoughts, Lin Yu added, interrupting her thoughts. At this moment, the others had arrived as well. Qin Yi and the others could not understand why Lin Yu would let Taoist Grand Supreme go at the last moment and not let them chase after him. If they had gone, they would have had a high chance of taking down Taoist Grand Supreme. But Lin Yu did not explain it to them. Qin Yi and the others did not ask either. They had absolute trust in Lin Yu. As for Qin Yi, after seeing Yuja Kitami, she knew of her identity and greeted her simply. They are all members of the low-profile sect. Since we are partners, then tell us about the Pill King Temple in one go. Lin Yu signaled to Yuja Kitami that she didn't need to worry about other people. At the same time, he was also expressing his attitude. This person was definitely protective. The Elixir King Temple is a place jointly guarded by the 4 families. It is used to pass down the method of refining elixirs and provide the best elixirs for the descendants of the 4 families. There are 4 Elixir King Temples in total, which are under the control of the Donghuang, Nangong, Beima, and Shiming families respectively. Previously, I went to the Pill King Temple in my Beima clan's territory. Needless to say, Lin Yu also knew that there was still some distance between the Pill King Temple and the Beimwa clan's core region. It was even located at the periphery of the Beimwa clan. This was why Yuja Kitami was intercepted by Taoist Taishang on the way. If they were in the core region, Taoist Grand Supreme would not dare to make a move against the eldest daughter of the Beimwa clan even if he had more guts. Since we are partners, I will say it directly. I want to win this alchemy conference. Yuja Kitami looked at Lin Yu. As you said, this is a good opportunity for the Beimwa clan to revive. After all, although Lin Yu killed our sequence, I still want to thank him. If he had not defeated Nangong Tian, perhaps the Beimwa clan would not have this opportunity. After entering the Pill King Tower, I will have the chance to comprehend the alchemy attainments left behind by the Great Sun Boundless Buddha. Okay, I will help you pass on the message to Lin Yu when I meet him. Lin Yu said casually. He didn't care about the attainments, but he cared about Yuja Kitami's gratitude. Qin Yi and the others could not help but twitch their faces. The captain's change of identity was too natural. You know Lin Yu? Yuja Kitami was very interested. I've met him once. He is indeed a dragon among men. His actions and words show an extraordinary aura of a king. Therefore, it is not wrong for Nangong Tian to be defeated by him. I would like to meet such a powerful person. Hearing Lin Yu's words, Yuja Kitami was clearly more curious about Lin Yu. I heard that he has been brought to the heavenly region. The legendary six-winged divine king wants to meet him personally. This person is the role model of our sequence. Yuja Kitami could not help but praise Linyu. The sequence has been held 9 times. This is the first time that the Divine King has personally summoned a disciple on the sequence. In the past, the people on the sequence would be taken in as disciples by other people on the heavenly god ranking. However, the six-winged Divine King is the number 1 on the heavenly god ranking. He has never taken the initiative to summon the people on the sequence. Beima Yuer continued, but Lin Yu interrupted her. My goal this time is also to enter the Pill King Pagoda. If there's a chance, I would like to meet the great solar boundless Buddha. After that, Beima Yuer's pretty face froze. You want to meet the great sun boundless Buddha? Why not? The difficulty of meeting the great sun boundless Buddha is probably more difficult than Lin Yu meeting the six-winged Divine King. The Buddha is very elusive. He has not appeared for many years. There are even rumors about him. Beima Yuer hesitated for a moment. When she saw the look in Lin Yu's eyes, she was afraid that the other party would say that she wasn't going to cooperate or something. Rumor has it that the Vairocana Buddha was severely injured back then. He doesn't have long to live. F***ck. Lin Yu cursed silently. He had followed the Dark Priest's advice to seek refuge with the great sun boundless Buddha. However, before he could find him, the great sun boundless Buddha had died. The Dark Priest was a scammer. What's wrong? It's nothing. The great sun boundless Buddha's cultivation is extremely high. How could he die so easily? Lin Yu consoled himself. That's true. However, the Tower of Pills has a close relationship with the Buddha. Perhaps there is a chance to find out the whereabouts of the great sun boundless Buddha inside. Yuja Kitami looked at Lin Yu and reminded him. However, regarding the enlightenment of Pill Dao, I won't snatch it from you, unless that enlightenment of Pill Dao comes to me. Lin Yu replied casually. How could it come to you? Yuja Kitami rolled her eyes at him. She was still very confident in her own Pill Dao. If someone had to run, it would run to her. However, since Lin Yu had already agreed not to snatch it from her, then at least their goals would not clash. That was even better. It's not a problem to bring you all into the Pill Dao conference. However, you all have to follow me back to the Beima clan first. I need to report to my father that I have obtained the pill recipe this time. Yuja Kitami said. Lin Yu did not think much of it. Everyone followed Yuja Kitami to the core area of the Beima clan. With Yuja Kitami leading the way, naturally, no one stopped them. However, Lin Yu still heard some strange words along the way. Young Master Yuer is indeed the number 1 beauty of our Beima clan. It's not just the Beima clan. I don't think you can find a woman more beautiful than Big Sister Yuer in the 4 great clans. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.